Chapter 201. The king is dead. He raises both arms. The air around him freezes solid, then shatters into dust as magic surges. Tier 6 skill. Absolute silence. The world blinks. Rewalt's ears pop, sound vanishes. Then, from every corner of the room, ice spears form out of nothing. A dome of frozen death collapses inward, completely silent. The very concept of sound is removed from the space. Rewalt's eyes widen. He tries to summon the towers again, but the glyphs on his arms shatter like glass. One of the towers flickers, then dies. He raises his sword one last time. The ice spears pierce him from all sides. His body jerks once. Blood splashes the frost. The towers fall silent. Astrum exhales, and sound returns like a roaring vacuum. Rewalt crumples forward, the light fading from his eyes, one hand still reaching toward the altar, as if trying to push Asdri away. Astrum stands over the fallen king. Astrum looks down at Rewalt's lifeless form, his eyes cold and unfeeling. He raises his head, his gaze sweeping across the room, the power of the Tier 6 skill still lingering in the air. His voice is low, dripping with contempt and anticipation. Next, he says, turning to face Tandu and Karwal. Let's destroy this kingdom. Tandu, his armor scorched and dented from the earlier battle, grins wickedly. His eyes flash with excitement. Yes, Lord Astrum, it will be a pleasure. Karwal steps forward, his fiery aura still burning hot, though his expression is colder than usual. We've already broken the heart of this kingdom. Now let's shatter the rest of it. Astrum smirks, his eyes glinting with dark amusement. He takes a step toward the door, his presence overwhelming. The air around him grows even colder, frost creeping up the walls. But before he moves, Vareth steps into his path, blocking his path. Astrum's eyes narrow. What is it, Vareth? He asks, his voice sharper than ever. Vareth stands tall, his expression unreadable. He doesn't move or flinch, though his tone carries a heavy weight. Astrum, he begins, his voice calm but filled with years of unspoken pain. Do you really need to kill all these innocent humans? They've done nothing to us. Astrum's lip curls in disdain, the air around him growing even colder. Why not? He sneers. They're just humans, Vareth. Weak, fragile, nothing more than pests. And right now I'm in a bad mood. I need to vent it, and they're the closest thing to a target. He steps forward, but Vareth doesn't budge, his gaze steady. Is that really the reason? You'd destroy them all just to release your anger? You've been at this for years, are you not tired? Astrum pauses, his expression hardening. What are you talking about? His voice is low and dangerous. Vareth's eyes flicker with an emotion that's hard to place. Sorrow, perhaps, or resignation. I've seen it all, Astrum. Your endless quest for destruction. Your desire to burn everything down. But it's time, don't you think? Time for us to end this fight. For the lives we've taken. For the people we've lost. For the destruction we've caused. Suddenly, light streaks through the shattered remains of the crypt's ceiling. Two figures descend. One cloaked in dusky silver, eyes sharp as moonlight. Alex. The other armored in deep blue, his lance strapped across his back. Ladhar. They land at the far end of the chamber, the wind from their descent scattering frost and ash. Silence floods the space again, this time tinged with tension. Vareth turns sharply, his eyes widening as he sees them. For a second, his composure breaks. Alex? Ladhar? He says, his voice barely above a whisper. You're alive. His breath catches in his throat. The disbelief slowly gives way to something else. Relief. How did you two survive? Are you the only ones left? Alex doesn't answer immediately. He steps forward, calm and poised, his eyes gliding over Astrum's blood-soaked form, the frozen remains of Rewalt, then back to Vareth. But before he can speak, Astrum's voice cuts in, sharp, commanding. Where are my commanders? Astrum demands, his voice echoing with icy fury. Ladhar steps forward, His tone is formal, steady. Lord Vareth, Lathar says, his voice firm but respectful. I came here to tell you something. Everyone, including Astrom's commanders, are already under His Majesty Alex's banner. Vareth's expression twists in confusion. What? He breathes. Across the room, Svira recoils like she'd been slapped. What are you saying, Lathar? She snaps, fury flashing in her voice. Are you out of your mind? And why are you calling him His Majesty? Lathar sighs, running a hand through his hair. The weight of everything they've been through sits heavy in his voice. I'll explain, he says quietly. Something went wrong inside the crypt. Terribly wrong. The entire place tried to erase us. His eyes flick to Vareth, earnest. If it wasn't for His Majesty, none of us would have made it out. Astrom scoffs, mocking and cold. Do you hear yourself? He says. Are you saying my commanders betrayed me? You expect me to believe that? Lathar's voice tightens as the memory surfaces. He didn't just fight alongside us, he saved us. The crypt awakened something. Something ancient. A Tier 7 monstrosity buried deep in its heart. It wasn't just a trap, it was a purge. One meant to kill everything inside. Astrom scoffs, the sound sharp and disbelieving. You're telling me, he says slowly, that this guy killed a Tier 7? He turns his gaze on Alex, contempt flickering behind his icy eyes. That this is the one you now serve? Karwal spits to the side. Ridiculous. Tandu laughs, short and ugly. That thing inside would have annihilated even us. There's no way all of you will walk out alive. Astrom's lips curl. And you're saying my commanders betrayed me? Just like that. They saw the truth, Lathar says. The kind of leader they wanted to follow. One who stood between us and certain death, even when he didn't have to. Alex finally steps forward. His presence unnaturally calm amidst the storm of disbelief and fury swirling in the chamber. His cloak rustles lightly, untouched by the chill. I suppose I should introduce myself properly, he says, his voice smooth, clear, yet carrying a quiet weight that stills even the breathing in the room. You're all here to help this human king, right? To annihilate his enemies. His gaze lowers, falling upon the crumpled corpse of King Rewalt. There's no emotion in his face, just cold observation. I guess you already handled that part, he says dryly. But it doesn't matter. His eyes lift again, and this time his aura surges. Thick, oppressive, ancient. Because you're still my enemies, he says. Which means, I'll have to kill you. The room tenses, Svira steps back instinctively. Even Astrom subtly shifts his footing. But then Alex raises one hand slowly, palm open toward them. That said, he continues, almost casually, if you join me, pledge yourselves fully and prove your loyalty, I might give you what you've always wanted. A flick of mana dances at his fingertips. Power, he says simply. Strength. A path to Tier 7. Tandu stiffens slightly. He leans toward Astrom, whispering just loud enough for his voice to carry. My lord, I remember now. That's the one we told you about. Even when he has only Tier 5 strength, his aura, it was heavier than ours. That's why we retreated back then. Astrom's jaw tightens. Vareth narrows his eyes. Wait, what do you mean achieve Tier 7? He asks, voice slow, wary. Alex glances at him. Isn't that why you came here? He says. The Tier 7 skill book hidden in this crypt. That's what you were all chasing, wasn't it? There's a pause, just a breath. Then 4 books materialize in Alex's hand. Not scrolls, not illusions. Books, bound in strange, otherworldly materials. Each pulsing faintly with layered magical circles far too complex to be Tier 6. The pressure they emit is suffocating. Like the presence of gods watching from a mountaintop. Unfortunately, Alex says softly, you were never going to find it. The crypt has already been destroyed. Karwal's eyes widen. Svira actually gasps. Even Tandu's grin slips. Astrom, he takes half a step forward before catching himself. His eyes fixate on the books like a starving man eyeing meat. But he stops. because even he knows. Someone who can casually display for Tier 7 skill books in front of a group of elite monsters without fear. That's no ordinary monster. Astrum's thoughts race. A descendant of a royal bloodline in the main continent? A hidden heir from one of the main continent's superpowers? Maybe even a son of a Tier 7 powerhouse. His gaze locks with Alex's, searching for an answer. But Alex's face reveals nothing. Vareth breaks the silence again. And, what do you want from us in return? Alex's eyes turn to him, unreadable. His voice drops slightly, darker now, like a blade being drawn. Prove yourselves, he says. Stand with me or stand against me. I won't ask again. Vareth's voice cuts through the silence, low but urgent. Are you sure? All my commanders and soldiers are safe? Ladhar nods firmly, stepping closer to him. They're safe, Lord Vareth. I give you my word. Alex made sure of it. Every one of them made it out alive. Vareth exhales, a tension in his shoulders easing, even if only slightly. Then, without warning, Astrum speaks. I will join you. The words drop like a hammer. Ladhar blinks, stunned. What? Even Vareth turns, eyes narrowing with disbelief. You will. Astrum doesn't hesitate. On 2 conditions, he says calmly. First, I retain command of my own commanders. Second, I continue to rule over my land in Kaland continent. Ladhar shoots a glance at Alex, as if trying to gauge his reaction. Vareth's expression is unreadable, but his eyes are sharp, wary. Chapter 202. Conquer the entire Kaland continent. Alex tilts his head slightly, as if pondering it for a moment. His voice is composed, but his words are deliberate. I can agree to your first request, he says. You'll command your forces. Astrum nods once, accepting. Alex's gaze sharpens. But for your second request. He pauses, voice hardening. I want the 2 of you, you and Vareth, to join forces. Conquer the entire Kaland continent. Together. The room stills again. Vareth's eyes flick toward Astrum, then back to Alex. His brow furrows, tension rising in his jaw. You already know our history, Vareth says tightly. We've warred for generations. I don't think our forces can work together, peacefully. There's too much blood between us. Alex steps forward slowly, each footfall deliberate. His presence grows heavier, colder. That's not my problem, he says, voice low. If you become mine, truly mine, then fighting each other will be considered treason. His eyes glow faintly now, a crimson pulse beneath the silver hue. And treason, under me, is punishable by death. Silence. Vareth stares at him for a long moment, searching for any sign of bluff. But Alex's expression remains unreadable. Not cruel, not angry, just resolute. Astrum, too, watches carefully. He doesn't argue. He just nods once, slow. Vareth follows suit a heartbeat later, his own nod short and reluctant. Alex lifts one hand. A shimmer of power spirals around his fingers, and then, snap, a solid scroll materializes in his grasp. No, not a scroll. A parchment formed from strange, blackened fibers laced with threads of living mana. Runes glow faintly across its surface, shifting as though alive. This, Alex says, holding it out, is a contract. He steps closer, offering it between them. You'll write your names here, both of you. As long as you don't betray me or scheme against everyone under me, you'll be fine. But if you do, he taps the page once. Your hearts will explode and you'll die. Instantly.
No exceptions.
A beat of silence passes. Astrum was shocked. An item like that exist? Still, both reach for the parchment. Astrum slashes his name first, the ink forming of his own mana, binding immediately to the contract's edge. Vareth watches him, then breathes out slowly and does the same. The moment the second name is etched, the contract glows once, blue, then red, before fading into Alex's hand and vanishing into motes of light. A hush settles. like the air itself is holding its breath. Alex simply nods once. Good, he says. Now go. Return to your lands. Consolidate your forces. Also, I will send my own army to help you. Astrum tilts his head, a glimmer of curiosity in his eye. And if we succeed? Alex meets his gaze without hesitation. Then I'll give you something even stronger than those books, he says. I'll show you what lies beyond Tier 7. Neither Vareth nor Astrum reply, but neither of them look away. The next day, Kaland continent. Whispers spread like wildfire across Kaland. In the northern highlands, deep within the territory of the Fanged clans, a Wyvernkin elder murmurs to his kin. Something's happened. Word is, the two greatest warlords, Astrum and Vareth, are now allies. His younger kin laughs, sharp and skeptical. That's impossible. They've been trying to gut each other for centuries. But the elder only narrows his eyes. It's not a rumor. I heard it from a scout who saw their banners flying side by side. In one of Astrum's cities, a volcanic basin lined with blackstone roads and flickering red lamps. A group of beastkin adventurers gather around a tavern table. The air buzzes with disbelief and speculation. Hey, one of them, a bear-like brute with twin axes strapped to his back, leans forward. You hear what happened yesterday? What? A horned lizardkin replies, gnawing on a bone. That another border town got flattened? No, the bearkin says, shaking his head. Lord Astrum, he abolished slavery. The lizardkin stops chewing. What? I'm serious, the bearkin says. No more slave markets. No more collars. His soldiers are even protecting goblin farmers from bandits now. It's like they've been. He frowns, trying to find the word. Reborn. A feline rogue nearby hisses. Tsh, bullshit. Astrum? The same guy who used to execute deserters by boiling their bones? Why would he change? The bearkin shrugs. Don't ask me, but I was in Barval City 2 days ago. Saw it with my own eyes. The slave pens are shut. Soldiers are walking in patrol lines, but they're not hurting anyone, just standing guard. It's weird. The day after a new declaration, news hits like thunder across the Kaland continent. From jagged peaks to fetid marshlands, the message echoes. Astrum and Vareth have declared themselves vassals to a king. Not a warlord, not a chieftain, a king. And not just that, their proclamation is simple and terrifying. This continent will be ours. Surrender now, or we come to take it by force. In the trading city of Craghollow, nestled at the edge of the central wastelands, a crowd gathers in the market square. Dozens of monsterfolk, gnolls, ogres, ogresses, serpentkin, trollbloods, all stare at the projection hovering in the air. A magical illusion of Astrum and Vareth standing side by side, cloaked in ceremonial black and crimson. The announcement booming with terrifying calm. A grizzled minotaur mercenary scowls, arms crossed. Under a king, huh? The hell is this? Since when do those two bow to anyone? Did you hear the tone in Astrum's voice? A kobold war mage mutters. Cold. Controlled. Like he didn't even want to say it. Just had to. They said his name. A cloaked naga murmurs nearby. Alex. The king of another continent. That's who they serve now. A dry chuckle comes from a frost ogre leaning against a wall. If Astrum and Vareth both bowed, this king must be something else. Doesn't matter what he is. The Minotaur growls. He's coming for us. We need to act. Later, in a hidden cave deep within the Spine Ridge Mountains, 7 banners are raised. 7 tribes, 7 factions. Beast lords, mutant swarms, insect hives, blood cults, and wild sovereigns have formed an uneasy alliance. They sit around a stone table, rough-hewn and reeking of old blood. The moment they said surrender or be crushed, spits a winged reaver. I knew we had no choice. We fight. Edamantiskin Queen clicks her mandibles. Their strength is greater than ours, but our numbers are 10 times theirs. If we strike fast, take out the Emberclaw's forward army before it consolidates, we die. interrupts an old troll shaman. You don't understand what we're facing. Astrum and Vareth were enough of a problem. But now, they follow a king who makes them bow. The Reaver snarls. So what? We run? Hide like mole worms in the dirt? No, says a deep, gravelly voice from the far end of the table. It belongs to a war chief clad in plated obsidian armor. His tusks are jagged, his eyes glowing with purple fire. We fight, but not blindly. We unite. The only chance we have is together. A tense silence falls. One by one, the leaders nod. Meanwhile, in a ruined outpost near the coast, a scout limps back into camp, bloodied and wide-eyed. I saw them, she gasps. The Emberclaw vanguard, marching with Astrum's black blades and Vareth's flame beasts. Hundreds of thousands of them. A general steps forward, fists clenched. How far out? For days, maybe less. They're not waiting. In Alex's private chamber, the chamber is quiet. Cool light from the evening moon filters through crystalline glass slats above, casting long, angular shadows across obsidian walls. Braziers flicker with steady blue flame, illuminating the polished stone floor. A faint hum of magic resonates around the room. Subtle, but constant. Familiar. Alex stands alone before the floating screen. Silver eyes reflecting the data glowing just inches from his face. Alex, level 500. Population, 20,678,086. Required for next level, 300,000,000. Gold coins, 300,090,637. His expression is calm, but thoughtful. 14 million, he murmurs, folding his arms. That's where I was just 3 days ago. He tilts his head slightly, eyes narrowing. And now, over 20 million. His voice is quiet, almost like he's thinking aloud rather than speaking to anyone in particular. Astrum's territory, Vareth's, absorbed into my dominion, and just like that, 6 million more under my banner. He exhales through his nose. Not a sigh, but something close. The numbers shift slightly as the screen flickers, updating in real time. He doesn't look surprised by the influx of gold either. Gold jumped too. Over 130 million now, he mutters. They offered plenty, though I couldn't exactly bleed them dry. Still, they gave more than enough. A slow smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. Brief, faint, gone almost as soon as it comes. At this rate, Alex steps forward, the screen following him like a loyal spirit. A few more cities fall. A few more banners raised. And I'll reach 30 million. He taps his finger gently against the air, scrolling down to a hidden panel only he can access. Level progression locked. Awaiting population milestone. I'll hit level 600. Alex lowers his hand, letting the glowing screen linger in front of him. The numbers pulse like a heartbeat. His eyes settle on the golden icon at the bottom right, Revival Protocol, Bonepiercer's Legion. He exhales, thoughtful, then speaks aloud, calmly, as if confirming a decision he's already made. Now, with this much gold, I should be able to revive at least half of the total number of Bonepiercers. He pauses, fingers moving through the interface, calculation flickering across his gaze. There were 300,000 of them originally. He narrows his eyes. So that means 150,000. His voice is quiet, matter of fact. That's what I'll bring back. Chapter 203, Level 600 achieved. Some hours later, the heavy doors of Alex's working chamber close behind him with a soft, final click. The scent of old paper and fresh ink drifts in the air, mingling with the muted thrum of mana that pulses through the obsidian walls. Shelves line the room, scrolls, reports, hand-bound ledgers, and at the center, beneath a suspended crystal lamp, rests a wide table of darkwood inlaid with runes. Alex steps inside, rolling his shoulders once. The revival is complete. He walks over to the table and draws out a worn, blackened ledger. His fingers trail across the surface, brushing away a thin layer of dust, And with a thought, the runes ignite softly, revealing updated listings of newly revived troops. 150,000 bone piercers, he says quietly, almost to himself. He doesn't sit, just stands there, arms crossed, scanning the names and designations that flicker into view. His lips curl slightly, not into a smile but something like it. Satisfaction. 20 commanders made it through, he murmurs, nodding once. Tier 6, all of them. That's better than I expected. He exhales slowly, gaze sharpening. With them at the helm, I won't need long. He lifts his head, eyes focused but distant, like he's already seeing the conquest unfold. It shouldn't take long for me to conquer the Kaland continent now. 1 month later, the sky over the training ground, where his subordinates are training, is cloudless. A pale blue dome stretching endlessly above. The air is crisp and still, carrying the faint tang of sharpened metal and scorched earth. At the center of the vast field, stone-paved and etched with formation circles, sparks flash and dust kicks up in sudden bursts of movement. Ruva lunges. The young Felinari moves like a blur, ears flat, claws extended, tail slicing through the air as her body twists mid-dash. Her opponent, a combat doll reinforced with Tier 3 enchantments, swivels sharply and blocks her strike with a glowing arm guard. Sparks fly on impact. She flips back, landing low on all fours, eyes locked on her target. Alex watches from a raised platform at the edge of the training field, arms behind his back, expression unreadable. The wind catches the edge of his long coat, flicking it gently like a banner. She's faster, he murmurs. The doll charges, its movements fluid but precise, mimicking a real Tier 3 swordsman. Its blade lashes out in a downward arc, but Ruva is already gone. A flicker, like a gust of wind. Then she's behind it. Her claws dig into the back plating of the doll's shoulder. With a fierce snarl, she spins and kicks it sideways, sending the automaton staggering. Before it can regain balance, she pounces, claws raking down its chest. Sparks fly again. Ruva, Alex calls out, voice sharp but even. Watch your spacing on the third step. You're crowding your own momentum. Okay, big brother, she shouts back, breathless but focused. I will fix it. The training doll whirs again, systems rebooting, but Ruva lifts her hand and exhales. Wind gathers. A low humph pulses out from her palm, growing into a spiraling vortex that wraps around her arms and legs like living current. The grass flattens in a wide circle around her feet. Alex watches closely. Then, in a blink, she's gone. A burst of compressed air marks her movement. She reappears just above the doll's head, claws glowing faintly with green-tinted wind mana. Her eyes burn with focus. Gale Claw. She slams down, a streak of air-blurred movement. The impact tears across the doll's chest, sending it crashing backward in a spray of sparks and cracked plating. This time, it doesn't rise. Silence returns to the field, broken only by Ruva's steady breathing. Alex steps down from the platform, approaching slowly. Other than that, he says, his tone even but approving, it's all good. You're progressing fast. Ruva turns to him, tail swaying slightly, a proud smile tugging at her lips. It's all thanks to you, big brother. Alex gives a quiet snort. It's also because you're very talented. In this old world, a genius might reach Tier 2 at that age if they were fortunate, if they had the backing, the bloodline, the training. But here, Ruva has soared forward with almost terrifying speed. Ruva grins, brushing dust off her elbow. Still, if I didn't meet you, I'd probably be picking fruit for food somewhere. And I wouldn't even know I had great affinity to wind element. You'd have figured it out eventually, Alex replies, watching the lingering wind currents curl around her feet before fading. It's in your blood. The way you move, it's not just instinct. It's tuned, harmonized. She tilts her head, ears perking curiously. Harmonized. Like the wind itself, he says. Fast. Unpredictable, but not chaotic. You're starting to move with purpose. Ruva beams at that, her cheeks puffing slightly with pride. Then next time, I'll go even faster. Alex raises an eyebrow. Faster is good. But not if you tear your own joints doing it. She groans. Ugh. You sound like Uncle Varkas now. Varkas is not wrong, Alex says, smirking faintly. Control is everything. Ruva nods, then looks at the ruined doll. Should I reset it and go again? Not right now, he replies, glancing at the sky. The sun is starting to dip toward the horizon. It's light golden and warm across the field. You've pushed your limit today. Ruva pouts, then lets out a breath, her tone reluctant. Okay, but tomorrow I want to try that new wind dash skill, the one where I phase. Phase step, Alex says, already thinking ahead. I'll have Nasara set up some moving targets. That skill's only useful if you can track while you're moving. Ruva gives him a quick salute, tail flicking behind her like a banner of pride. Just as Alex turns to leave the field, a soft ding echoes in the air. Faint but unmistakable. A transparent screen materializes in front of him, hovering a few inches from his face. His eyes flicker toward it. Notice. Congratulations, your population has reached 30 million. You are now eligible to level up. Next level, 600. Proceed to level up. Alex blinks once. So it's finally here. He stares at the message for a second, absorbing the implications. A subtle pressure builds around him, mana stirring in the air as if the world itself is aware of the threshold he's about to cross. Big brother. Ruva's voice cuts in from behind him, her arms folded behind her back, claws twitching slightly in anticipation. Can we go? I smell cake. Alex doesn't turn around. Go on ahead without me. I'll stay here. There's a short pause. Ruva doesn't ask why. She doesn't need to. If Alex says stay, there's a reason. Okay, she says, drawing the word out with a shrug. But I'm eating your share. He smirks faintly, still watching the translucent screen. You always do. Ruva laughs, light and wind-tinged. Then she trots off with a skip in her step, tail swishing behind her like a pennant of joy. See you later, big brother. Alex waits until she's gone, until her presence fully leaves the training ground. Then he exhales slowly. The screen pulses once more, waiting. He reaches out, his fingertip brushing the glowing confirmation line. Let's level up. As Alex's finger presses against the glowing confirmation, the transparent screen vanishes, replaced instantly by a sudden, immense pull from within his core. The world stills. Then the ground trembles. A pillar of blinding light erupts from beneath Alex's feet, spiraling upward like a lance of condensed energy. It pierces the sky, warping clouds high above, scattering birds in all directions. The air hums with power, raw, ancient, hungry. The mana in the area convulses, sucked inward as if being devoured by an invisible storm centered around him. Alex clenches his jaw, his eyes narrowing against the force now tearing through his body. System notice. Initiating level ascension. Current level, 500. Target level, 600. The system's voice booms inside his mind, calm, mechanical, but unmistakably final. Ascension protocol engaged. Tier density expanding. Base frame reinforced. Innate ability unlocking. Pain lances through him, not the sharp kind, but something deeper. Like his very bones are being reshaped. His soul tempered in white-hot fire. He drops to one knee, fist slamming into the stone floor, cracks spidering outward beneath him. Not because he's weakening, but because the sheer amount of power rushing into him can't be contained by the space around him anymore. His mana core twists, stretches, shatters, and reforms. Level 510 achieved. 520. 530. Each 10 levels feels like the world resets around him. A surge of clarity. A burst of strength. His muscles don't swell. No, his body remains lean, refined, but the weight of his presence thickens. The shadows stretch longer. The air grows heavier. Crimson glyphs ignite around his arms, spiraling down to his wrists, symbols of authority, of control. His blood runs hot, like molten metal, and a second heartbeat thunders within him, deeper, more ancient. Level 560, 570. At level 580, something changes. The sky above the training ground darkens, not from clouds, but from mana so dense it dims the light itself. The world pauses, as if the very plane of reality recognizes what's happening. His system flashes. Innate ability awakened. Your existence now exerts localized law distortion. All lower-tier beings within 500 meters will experience pressure. Also affects Tier 6 enemies. Affects scales with disparity in willpower. Alex doesn't move. He doesn't need to. The mana around him begins to swirl, shifting colors, from deep violet to bright silver. His body absorbs it all like a bottomless well, like a king reclaiming what was always his. Level 590, 595, 599. The final number pulses. Level 600 achieved. Then silence. Chapter 204. Innate ability. King's presence. The beam of light dissipates in an instant, sucked back into his body like a reversed explosion. The air settles. Birds begin to chirp faintly in the far distance, hesitant and disoriented. Alex rises slowly to his feet. His eyes open, and for a moment, they glow with layered rings of silver and obsidian, the mark of a being who is transcended. He flexes one hand. Power coils around his fingers, not wild, not chaotic, but obedient, calm, like a storm waiting for permission to unleash. Alex exhales slowly, the storm of energy ebbing away inside him, leaving behind only clarity and silence. Then he speaks, more to himself than anyone else. "Oh," he mutters, blinking once. "So that's how I get back my innate abilities." His voice is quiet, curious, reflective, but there's a thread of something deeper woven into it. Memory, recognition, awe. The system hums softly, the floating screen returning. This time not with a notification, but with a glowing icon pulsing in the corner of his vision. Alex focuses on it. A new window expands. Innate ability acquired. King's presence. Effect. Your very existence applies localized law distortion. All lower-tier beings within 500 meters will experience passive suppression. Tier 6 enemies are affected, suppression scaling with disparity in willpower. Mental-type creatures may experience instinctive fear. Cannot be resisted unless by beings of higher tier. Alex reads the text slowly, lips parting in faint amusement. This thing. He breathes, tilting his head back toward the sky. I remember this. He lowers his gaze again. In the game, players didn't have innate abilities. That was always something only NPCs got, part of their design. Their bloodlines, their world-building lore. He walks a few steps across the cracked stone, hands folding behind his back as he looks out over the empty training field. Mana still lingers faintly in the air, curling around him like mist that refuses to fade. But, he continues, there was a way to get them. A dry chuckle escapes him. Rare boss drops. Ultra rare. Even more rare than divine tier equipment. Only a handful of players ever found them. And Alex got one. When he was level 580. His eyes narrow, remembering. Midnight Throne, that raid boss in the Obsidian Deep. Hidden conditions. 6-hour respawn timer. Required at least 5 tier 5 allies. Everyone thought it was just for divine gear. He shakes his head slightly. But when we cleared it, I got this. The memory surged up like a tide, sharp and vivid. He straightens his posture slightly, feeling the shift in air pressure as the passive field reasserts itself. Even the wind seems reluctant to brush too close to him now. The ground beneath his feet remembers the weight of that light. The world is listening. Then, quietly, he adds to himself, and the second one. He glances upward, as if peering through time. Level 900. Alex exhales one last time, the aftershocks of his ascension fading into stillness. Well, he murmurs, letting his arms fall loosely to his sides. That's one thing to look forward to. His gaze drifts across the silent field, still scarred from the raw pressure of his level up. The stones are cracked. The air is warmer. Reality itself feels thinner at the edges. But first, he mutters, lips curling faintly, I need to test this strength. He doesn't rush. He takes his time, letting the sensations settle, grounding himself with each step. The training field feels smaller now, tamer. After some time, Alex walks toward the exit, the familiar archway of dark stone pillars greeting him like quiet sentinels. As he crosses it, the world seems to breathe again. Birds chirp more confidently, and the wind returns with a rustle of leaves. Waiting just beyond the path is Ruva, perched on a carved stone bench with her feet dangling. She's holding a plate with a generous slice of cake, and more importantly, a sweet smile. She spots him immediately and lifts the plate high like a prize. Took you long enough, big brother. Alex raises an eyebrow as he walks up. You waited. Ruva swings her legs, tail flicking behind her. Of course I waited. You said I could eat your share if you didn't come. But then I thought, maybe you'd crawl out of the ground all glowing and dramatic and stuff. She gestures grandly with the fork, almost dropping it. And you did. So I saved it. Alex glances at the cake. Fluffy, soft, and iced with pale green frosting. That mine. Ruva grins wider and pulls it slightly closer to her chest. It was. But now you have to earn it. He crosses his arms, looking faintly amused. Earn it? Yup, she says, pointing the fork at him like a scepter. You have to show me your new powers. Come on, just one cool thing. You were in there forever and I know something insane happened. The wind went still. The sky got dark, and the birds all flew away. Even the bugs went silent. Alex exhales, the corner of his mouth twitching. You were watching? I was eating and watching. She pats her belly. Had time for 2 pieces. Alex steps closer, then suddenly moves. Not with noise, not with effort, just pure speed. One instant, he's 3 meters away. The next, he's crouching directly in front of her, his hand already under the plate. Ruva yelps, eyes wide. Hey! I earned it, Alex says, lifting the plate calmly as if nothing just happened. You cheated. Ruva protests, but she's laughing, half trying to swipe it back. That doesn't count. That was like a blink. Phase-shifted dash, Alex says mildly. Refined version. I moved without dragging mana across the field. She stares, ears twitching. You didn't even make a sound. That's creepy. It's efficient. Still creepy, she mutters, pouting. Back in Kaland continent. High atop of a cliff, the wind howls, cold and sharp as a blade. Below, the sprawling land of Kaland stretches to the horizon. Jagged mountain passes, blackened plains, and scorched forests now trampled beneath the tread of a tide no one could stop. 150,000 Bonepiercer Legion soldiers now stand in disciplined, perfect rows across the valley. Clad in ancient armor, faces hidden beneath visored helms, weapons gleaming with eerie runes. They do not speak. They do not shift. They do not breathe. Their presence alone feels like a weight pressing down on the world. Vareth stares at them in silence, his arms folded, red cape fluttering behind him. His jaw clenches slightly. A real monsters, he mutters. The silence stretches, heavy, until Vareth speaks again. His voice quieter, less rigid. Our decision to bow down really saved our lives, he admits. Astrum gives a short grunt of agreement. Vareth nods toward the Legion. Those Bonepiercers alone could flatten this whole continent.
No exageras, Chen.
We both know it. He glances sideways, eyes narrowing. In all of Kaland, there are only 15 tier SIXS. 10 are unaffiliated. You and my forces make up the other 5. Astrum's brow furrows. We were the powers. Us and a handful of stubborn monsters hiding or building their own forces. Now, he shakes his head slightly. We're barely footnotes. The Bonepiercers shift as one, only slightly, like a breeze through a field of razors. The air groans with tension. They don't obey fear, Vareth says slowly. or greed. They don't ask for food or rest. They don't even seem to need direction. Astrum grunts. They only need him. He doesn't need to say the name. Varith knows who he means. There's a long pause before Varith said, more quietly, "Do you think he'll really stop with just this continent?" Astrum chuckles dryly. "Do you think a king who have this much power ever plans to stop?" Astrum says nothing. The two warlords stand in silence for a while longer, watching the legion below. From here, they look less like soldiers, and more like a wall, an unbreakable barrier. Varith runs a hand through his hair, then mutters, "We were gods here. Now we're just his shadows." Astrum doesn't reply immediately. His gaze remains fixed on the field of death beneath them. Then, quietly, he says, "I'd rather be the shadow of a king than the ghost of a dead era." Varith lets out a breath, slow and resigned. "Yeah," he says, "me too." A month later. It took 1 month to make the Kaland continent his. Cities were claimed, castles restructured, armies disarmed or absorbed. Old warlords bent the knee. Those who didn't were removed. Varith and Astrum enforced the new order. Tier 5 warlords became border stewards. The entire continent became one machine, tuned to a single will. His will. Alex sat alone in his working chamber. Before him floated the familiar screen, quiet but always watching. He looked at it, fingers steepled, expression unreadable. Alex, level 600. Population, 54, 758026. Sovereignty, 500 million. Gold coins, 40090,637. A long silence passed. Then he leaned back. 54 million, he said softly. The screen did not respond. He tapped one finger against the polished table. Not bad for a first continent, but I need 10 times that. He stood slowly, eyes shifting to the large window carved into the rear wall. From here, the entire capital sprawled before him. Alex's eyes narrowed. "Next continent," he murmured. Alex turns away from the window. The quiet hum of the system fades into the background as he walks back to his wide stone desk, polished and smooth, set at the center of the chamber. A faint shimmer of mana surrounds the space, silent guardians woven into the walls. He pulls out the rolled parchment resting at the corner of the desk. Thick, old, edges slightly singed, as if it had been through war. The map Astrum gave to him. Chapter 205, Airborne Continent. Alex unfurls it slowly, the corners weighed down by the small black stones set into the table. The surface of the parchment glows faintly with enchantments. Names, symbols, colors shifting subtly as his gaze moves across it. Ocean divide continents. Hundreds of kingdoms, factions, and scattered city-states mark the known world. Alex leans over the map, eyes narrowing as it comes to life beneath his gaze. The room is quiet except for the faint flutter of the map. Each continent glows with a different hue, some bright and active, others dim with fading power. His eyes scan it all carefully. "Hundreds of them," he murmurs. "And that's just the recorded ones." Alex's eyes glides along the parchment, following the curved edges of one vast continent, then moving on to the next. Every single continent is surrounded by sea. Deep azure lines form the swirling oceans that separate realms, others wide and empty like forgotten voids. He leans forward slightly, eyes flicking to the far corners of the map. "There," he mutters, "the Three Kingdoms continent. And Kaland." Alex's gaze lingers on the two landmasses nestled side by side, far from the map's crowded center. The Three Kingdoms continent, drawn in sharp, angular borders, fragmented into its famously unstable triad of warring empires. And just beside it, Kaland, once a stronghold of isolated power, now fully subdued under his rule. He exhales slowly. "We really are in the corner," he mutters, almost amused. "Tucked away, like someone tried to forget about them." A faint knock sounds at the chamber door, soft, respectful. Alex doesn't look up. "Enter." The door opens with a muted creak, Andrea steps inside. A silver tray rests in her hands, bearing a steaming pot of dark tea and 2 small glasses. "You've been at the desk for 4 hours," she says, setting the tray down without waiting for an answer. "You should drink something, Your Majesty." Alex gives a faint nod, but his eyes remain fixed on the map. She notices, of course. "That's the world map?" she asks, stepping beside him. "Yes." His voice is quiet, distracted. "I hope it's accurate." Her eyes scan it briefly. "There's more continents than I thought." Then he gestures to the center of the parchment, where 3 vast, almost ominously large landmasses stretch across the heart of the map. "It is," he says quietly. "The 2 continents we have now are already big. Caelund alone took months to conquer, even with everything I had now." He pauses. "I can't imagine these 3 main continents. Each one looks 1,000 times the size of Caelund or the 3 kingdoms." Drea leans in, brows lifting as she follows his gaze. The 3 core continents are massive, so large they almost distort the scale of the map. Entire archipelagos fit inside a single province. Rivers wider than seas. Cities that look like entire countries. Alex's eyes shift from the immense continents at the center of the map. Slowly, his hand drifts down, toward a smaller continent not far from Caelund. It's broader than the 3 kingdoms, shaped like a rough crescent, dotted with scattered kingdoms and thick forests rendered in dusky green. He taps it once, firm and deliberate. "This," he says, his voice low, "this is our next target." Drea leans closer, studying the region. There are no monstrous symbols etched into the parchment. No beast empires, no ancient monster cities. Just human settlements. Dozens of them, marked with clean, rigid borders and clustered capitals. Alex's gaze darkens. This continent is home to the humans. There's no monster race here that's thriving. Just like in the 3 Kingdoms continent. The monsters here are shackled. Slaves. Hunted. Used. Drea's lips tighten slightly. "So it's the same pattern," she murmurs. "Order built on chains. Kingdoms built on backs." Alex nods once. "It's stable, because they keep it that way. Through fear." He looks at her. "We'll change that." She meets his gaze. "That's good, Your Majesty. Then we now have purpose in this new world." Drea straightens, her voice firmer now, almost reverent. "We'll build an empire of monsters. One the humans can't enslave. One that stands above theirs." Alex doesn't smile, but there's something resolute in the way he folds his arms behind his back. Back in Caelund, within the new heart of the continent, the Darkon City. In the war room glows with soft light cast from enchanted lanterns. A massive stone table dominates the center, its surface etched with strategic markers, miniature figures, and a copy of the world map now central to their planning. Gander, clad in his usual dark mage robes, stands at the head of the table. Beside him are Lysaria, Varith, and Astrum, each bearing the quiet intensity of seasoned generals awaiting the next campaign. A new order has come, from their king, their god. The next invasion is set in motion. Gander places something on the map, tapping the crescent-shaped landmass just beyond the eastern shores of Caelund. "This is it," he says. "The continent of Ereborn. His Majesty has chosen it as our next target." The room falls still for a moment. Then Gander glances toward Varith and Astrum. "Well?" he asks. "What do you 2 know about Ereborn?" Astrum steps forward, arms folded, golden eyes narrowing slightly as he peers at the marked continent. Dozens of human kingdoms, some bound in alliance, others constantly at odds. But they share one thing: hatred of the monster races. They've institutionalized it, Varith adds, his voice calm but sharp. Monster bloodlines are outlawed. Most captured monsters are turned into war beasts or slaves. The stronger ones are collared and used as spectacle in their gladiator arenas. Lysaria's expression hardens. "Charming," Astrum nods. "They've grown complacent, safe behind high walls and long traditions. They don't expect an invasion, not one like ours. Their enemies are each other, not us." Gander hums thoughtfully. Then will be their first real threat in centuries. Astrum leans over the table slightly, his expression more serious now. To tell you the truth, he says, voice low, I already tried to infiltrate Ereborn once. Gander raises a brow. Oh, how did it go? Astrum gives a faint smirk, then shakes his head. It didn't go the way I expected. I spent a full month inside during the height of one of their wars. Thought I could gather intelligence. Maybe even stir something from the inside. And, Vareth asks, folding his arms. I pulled out, Astrum says simply. It wasn't worth it. Every inch of that place is crawling with patrols, magical wards, and anti-monster enchantments. Even in disguise, I could feel the hostility. And worse, the kingdom that guards the natural portal. They're no joke. Their king is a peak tier 6, Astrum says. And he's no ornamental ruler. We fought once, and I only lasted 3 minutes before I fled. If I hadn't, I would have died there. Gander frowns. The natural portal, that's the one you told us about before? The one that links continents. Yeah, Astrum nods. A stable portal. No rift instability. No anchor arrays needed. It's natural. Just there. Always has been. Our sits in eastern shores. He pauses, tapping the space between the two landmasses. Only a handful of continents don't have one. The 3 kingdoms, for example, that whole place is isolated. Lysaria tilts her head. So what is it, exactly? Who made it? Astrum shrugs slightly. No one knows. Predates any written record. Modern mages have tried studying it, sealing it, even destroying it. Nothing works. It's immune to spatial magic. No one can even trace its origin signature. So it's been open all this time? Gander asks. All this time, Astrum confirms. Unmoving. Unaffected. The kingdoms of Ereborn have built an entire fortress city around their side of it. Always guarding it. Gander narrows his eyes. Then that will be our first objective. If we want to push into Ereborn, we take that fortress. We'll need a full-scale force, Vareth says, and a proper counter to a peak tier 6. Astrum glances at her, then smirks. We already have one. The next few days, the entire continent of Caelund buzzes with unprecedented energy. News spreads like wildfire, first whispered in crowded taverns, then shouted in open marketplaces, finally formalized by proclamation across every city and stronghold. The message is simple, bold, and absolute. A new campaign begins. A new world awaits. Vareth stands atop the Blackstone platform in the central square of Darkarn City, voice magically amplified, his crimson cloak fluttering in the warm wind. All monster clans of Caelund, his voice rings out. By command of His Majesty Alex, the true ruler of this world, we march to war. Not here, not in our lands, but across the sea. To Ereborn. A roar of disbelief and excitement follows, echoing across the square. Astrum stands beside him, arms crossed and eyes gleaming as he addresses the gathered crowd next. Every recognized monster clan is ordered to send a force of no less than 1,000 combatants. From warriors to spellcasters, young elites to veteran champions. This is not a raid. This is not a border skirmish. His voice drops into a deep growl. This is invasion. A ripple of shock spreads across the crowd. Then a surge of thrill. Cheers erupt. Claws slam on shields. Weapons are raised to the sky. For once in Caelund's blood-stained history, they are united. In a dimly lit adventurer's guild hall in the northern port city of Karnath, the news arrives via a crystal projection, Vareth's proclamation glowing midair. The hall bursts into noise. No way! A scaled beastkin adventurer barks, slamming his mug down. They're invading another continent? This is a huge opportunity. Chapter 206. Mazel, Peak Tier 6 Subordinate. I heard the pay's triple if you join the auxiliary force, says a goblin scout, eyes wide. They're hiring anyone who can fight. Even mercs. A tall, antlered monster leans against the counter, scoffing. Triple? I heard 5 times. And loot rights are shared. You imagine what the humans in Ereborn are hiding. New weapons, enchanted armor, vaults full of relics. A female ogress slams her gauntlet on the job board, eyes burning. Doesn't matter. I've been waiting for this day. We're finally going to fight a human. I heard humans are satisfying to flatten. In the kingdom of Morios, the kingdom that guards the natural portal connecting continents, the sky hangs thick with haze, tinged violet by the strange energy that pulses from the rift. The fortress built around the anomaly towers high with black stone walls and endless arrays of siege weapons. At the very top of the eastern watchtower, 2 guards peer through telescopic lenses at the distant distortion. The portal, a massive crack in space, hovers above a scorched canyon, wide enough to swallow a mountain. It hums faintly, like a breath held too long. The younger guard leans against the railing, exhaling sharply through his nose. Sigh. When was the last time someone tried to come through that thing? His older companion adjusts the focus on his lens and shrugs. 10 years ago, wasn't it? Something came through. Don't remember what it was. Just that it made the sky scream. The younger soldier grunts. Right? That monster fought the king himself, didn't it? Yeah, the older soldier says, eyes still fixed on the portal. Didn't last long, though. 3 minutes, maybe. Then it turned and ran. The younger soldier chuckles dryly. Our king doesn't mess around. That thing was probably lucky to escape. They lapse into silence. Only the low thrum of the rift and the occasional gust of wind breaks the quiet. Then the older mutters, still, been too quiet lately. Back in Kaland, inside a massive war tent adorned with maps and enchanted light crystals, the war council continues. Astrum has just finished recounting his experience with the Morios king, and the room feels heavier for it. Gander exhales slowly, fingers brushing across a parchment marked in red and black ink. This is the report from the scouts I sent, he says, voice measured but grim. Morios commands an army of 500,000. 10 confirmed Tier 6 combatants, stationed strategically across the fortress and surrounding cities. A tense silence falls over the war table. Varith raises an eyebrow. Didn't realize the other continent was so far ahead of Kaland. Astrum nods slowly, gaze distant. They are progressing fast, while we've been fighting among ourselves. The two exchange a look silent, but sharp. A mutual understanding passes between them. We were frogs at the bottom of a well, Astrum mutters. Varith doesn't deny it. Gander folds his hands behind his back. If we don't break Morios with our first strike, everything unravels. The rest of Ereborn continent will unite. Every kingdom, every force. They'll come down on us at once. We'll lose the initiative. Astrum clicks his tongue. So we don't just win. We crush them. A slow smile curls on Gander's lips. Exactly. He turns toward the large shadow standing quietly at the back of the tent. His Majesty, send someone to help us, Gander says. The figure steps forward. The ground shudders with each step, heavy, deliberate. The tent seems to darken just slightly. What emerges is not merely a warrior, but a calamity given form. The monster is massive, standing nearly 4 meters tall, with skin like cracked obsidian etched with glowing crimson veins. 2 colossal war axes rest across his back, each blade nearly the size of a grown man. His eyes burn like twin furnaces, molten and ancient. Horns curve upward from his temples, jagged and asymmetrical, as though torn and regrown through centuries of battle. Black chains hang from his waist like trophies. Scars line his arms, old, deep, and proud. Gander smiles faintly. Meet Mazel. Varitha's gaze lingers on the towering monster now fully visible beneath the glow of the war tent's enchanted lights. His expression remains composed, but his fingers curl ever so slightly on the edge of the table. Astrum doesn't say anything at first. He studies Mazel, measures the way the monster's presence seems to fill the entire space, how even the air seems heavier around him. That aura is not just power, it's pressure. He's stronger than that human king, Astrum realizes. And that fact doesn't sit poorly, it steadies something in him. Vareth breaks the silence first. So this is the reinforcement His Majesty sent, he says lightly, his tone unreadable. Wasn't expecting something that walks like a natural disaster. Astrum snorts under his breath. Guess that makes two of us. Mazel doesn't respond. He simply plants one of his massive war axes into the earth beside him. The thud shakes dust from the ceiling. His eyes, still burning, scan the room slowly. Gander doesn't seem the least bit concerned. He's gonna take care of that peak Tier 6 king during the assault. Mazel finally opens his mouth. His voice is deep, rough, and grating, like stone grinding against bone. I will take care of that human trash. Vareth smirks faintly. Well, at least you're more polite than you look. Mazel tilts his head, his gaze fixing on Vareth for a long second. Then he chuckles, low and guttural. You're brave. Or stupid. Maybe both. Both, Astrum mutters with a half-smile. Still, beneath the banter, Vareth and Astrum feel the same thing. Relief. Relief that the kingdom they've knelt to, the king they've sworn to follow, is deeper than they imagined. Stronger. More dangerous. This monster Mazel is proof of that. Status window Mazel. Name Mazel. Race, Bludgeonarls. Tier, peak Tier 6. Level, 699. Class, Warcaller. A breeze rolls across the high spires of the eastern watchtower, whispering against the black stone walls. The younger soldier squints through his scope, chewing absently on the end of a dried reed. Same damn sky every day, he mutters. Violet haze, creepy hum, and absolutely nothing. Wait. He straightens, slowly. The portal, usually pulsing gently with a slow, lazy rhythm, begins to shimmer violently. The edges ripple like disturbed water. The color bleeds deeper, from soft violet to a pulsing, sickly red. He blinks. Hey, what is happening? The older soldier jerks upright and yanks his lens around to face the rift. A low growl seems to echo from the crack itself. No wind, no beast. Just sound. Wrong and alive. The old guard's face goes pale. That only happens when something's coming. He slams a fist on the signal plate beside the railing. Ring the alarm. Now! Before the young soldier can move, before he can even reach the alarm crystal, a shape flickers behind him. Then another. Two shadows materialize like liquid nightmares. Not climbing, not flying. Peering. One is long-limbed and hunched, its arms ending in scythe-like claws that whisper through the air. The other is squat and broad, a brutish figure of dense, mottled flesh with glowing eyes and a maw that never quite stops smiling. A wet crack splits the silence. Blood splashes the stone railing. The young soldier doesn't even cry out. His body folds, eyes wide in confusion as his throat opens wide in a spray of red. The older one turns, hands still on the alarm plate, but he only gets a glimpse of steel teeth before they close around his head. A second later, the tower falls quiet again, unnaturally so. Below, the rift tears open, not just wide but deep. From the bleeding light of the dimensional wound, the first of them step through. Massive war drums echo like thunder. Footfalls follow, thousands of them, shaking the canyon floor. The 7 generals emerge. Mazel steps out first, his war axes slung across his back, eyes burning as they sweep across the horizon. Crimson veins pulse brighter along his skin as his aura ignites. Behind him, Gander, Lysaria, Vareth, Astrum, Varkas, Gorath. Then come the armies. 3 million soldiers. Trolls, ogres, goblins, giants, and a lot more. Infernal elves and skin-bound revenants. Monster spellcasters whose magic bleeds light and shadow. Siege beasts the size of a mountain, crawling with riders and cannons. The land groans beneath the weight of the invasion. Mazel slams the war axe into the ground. A massive pulse of crimson light explodes from his body, spreading through the horde like wildfire. Tier 6 skill. Battle cry of ash and flame. The air roars with the sound of every soldier exhaling as one. Muscles swell. Eyes blaze. Weapons shimmer with new power. Their strength surges. Their speed sharpens. Their pain dulls. Lysaria grins, already turning away. You know the plan. Split the kingdom. Hit them where they can't rally. Astrum cracks his neck. I'll take the southern cities. Leave the border forts to Varkas. I'll go east, Varith says smoothly. Gander nods. Good. Gorith, you take the bone piercers and massacre everything on your path. Kill their morale. Gorith grunts. I'll bring you their heads. Mazel finally speaks. His voice cuts through the air like falling stone. I will got to Thyr capital. Gander turns to the legion. Gander raises his arm high, the red light of Mazel's buff still flickering along his fingers like lightning trapped beneath skin. His voice booms across the field, carried by magic and the hush of countless monsters gone still. Tonight we break them, he says. Not just their walls, not just their armies. We shatter their pride, their unity, their hope. By dawn, Morios will belong to us. A ripple moves through the horde, quiet at first, then rising. Growls, cheers, the clatter of weapons against shields. Screech, revenants hiss like steam through bone. It's not chaos. It's hunger. Controlled. Focused. Chapter 207. Conquered a kingdom in one night. A moment of stillness. Then Mazel steps forward. No signal is given. No horn sounds. The warlord doesn't wait. He moves like an avalanche. The ground trembles beneath each thunderous footfall as he strides toward Valen's Watch, the massive fortress guarding the rift. Built from blackstone and reinforced with enchantment, the fortress is carved into the canyon wall like a jagged crown. 10 kilometers wide. 5 thick layers of defense. Thousands of archers, mages, and enchanted artillery. It was made to withstand a siege for years. Mazel stops at the edge of the canyon floor, gazing up at the towering walls. His breath comes slow and steady. Crimson veins glow brighter across his obsidian skin. The chains at his waist begin to rise, not from wind, but from pressure. Magic coiling around him like smoke ready to ignite. He lowers one axe. Then he lifts the other skyward. The air distorts. Tier 6 skill. A Shrend Requiem. The clouds above ripple as if struck. Magic explodes outward in a burning ring of crimson energy. The sky screams. Heat floods the canyon, searing the earth beneath his feet into glass. And then he swings. One axe. That's all it takes. A wave of crimson destruction erupts from the arc of his strike. A pressure front roars forward. Compressed magic in physical form, shaped like a colossal axe. Carves through the air, the stone, the fortress, everything. The wall splits. From base to parapet, the western half of fortress is severed like parchment under a sword. The enchanted battlements shatter. The sigils, decades old, flicker and blink out. Towers crumble like dried bone. The shockwave tears into soldiers, reducing thousands into ash instantly. Bodies vaporize. Others are thrown like dolls into the canyon below. The wave keeps going into the inner layers, bursting through gatehouses and crushing barracks. Stone folds inward. War beasts chained inside the fortress scream and die before they can react. The heat melts metal into slag. Half the fortress is gone. The other half trembles, screams echoing inside as soldiers scramble to understand what's happening. An alarm finally sounds. Too late. Within the fortress, Marshal Rose jolts awake. Sweat streaks down his temples. A Tier 6 Marshal of Morios, one of the strongest person of the continent, feels fear before he even opens his eyes. What was that? He growls, slamming aside the enchanted silks and pulling his blade from the armory rack beside his bed. The air stinks of ash and blood. A trembling aide bursts in. General, sir. The western wall is gone. Something's here. It's... A second impact rocks the fortress. The aide vanishes in a spray of gore as a chunk of flaming debris crashes through the ceiling. Theros dives aside, rolling to his feet. He doesn't wait. He sprints toward the outer wall, blade blazing with defensive wards. Outside, Mazel walks through the smoldering remains. His skin is bathed in firelight. Black chains whip in the air behind him, responding to his mood like living things. Dozens of defenders rush him from the breach. Soldiers, knights, warcasters. He doesn't slow. He charges forward and slams his axe into the ground again. The earth cracks beneath his foot. Lava jets upward in a serpentine burst. It snakes along the ground like a living whip, swallowing a platoon of armored knights in molten fire. Those that survive are crushed under his next swing. Limbs torn from bodies, screams strangled by falling stone. Arrows bounce off him like pebbles. Spells break apart against his aura. One brave captain tries to meet him with a warhammer glowing with Tier 3 enchantments. Mazel catches the weapon mid-swing with his bare hand. There's a moment of silence. Then he crushes the metal like clay and drives the man into the wall hard enough to break the stone behind him. Inside the fortress, Marshal Rose bursts into view atop the ruined upper level. He sees the wreckage, the bodies, the flames, the red-skinned monster tearing through everything. His eyes narrow. "You," he snarls. Mazel turns slowly, his furnace eyes meeting Theros's for the first time. "A Tier 6, he rumbles. His voice echoes unnaturally, like drums in a hollow cathedral. "Good." Rose leaps from the upper tier, blade drawn. Lightning bursts around him, his sword becoming a crackling arc of lightning. He roars mid-air, aiming to cleave Mazel in two. Their weapons clash. A shockwave erupts. Dust, stone, flame, blasted in every direction. The world pauses. Then Mazel grins and pushes back. Rose is thrown backward. He crashes into a ruined tower with a grunt, coughing blood. He staggers to his feet.
Impossible.
"You are a peak." But Mazel is already moving. He vanishes, appears beside Rose in an instant, his second axe swinging in from the left. Tier 5 skill. Consecutive cleave. The blade strikes everywhere at once. Theros tries to block, but his blade shatters. Blood bursts from his mouth as he's slammed across the courtyard, bones shattering audibly. He hits the wall, slumps. Mazel looms over him. "A weakling of a human," he growls. Theros lifts his eyes weakly. Mazel raises his axe, and he brings it down. Crack. The general's body crumples. The first Tier 6, dead. The army outside howls in triumph. The signal fires on the wall flicker and die. Lysaria watches from afar, arms crossed, as the fortress burns. She turns to the others. "What a show-off," she says, her voice calm. Varith exhales. "He made that look easy." Astrum chuckles softly. "That wasn't just some weak human. That was a level 650 Tier 6. Gorith lifts his massive hammer. "Then let's do our part too." The 7 generals split. The continent of Ereborn will never be the same. A single night. That's all it takes. The kingdom of Morios wakes up to fire. Cities once cloaked in peaceful slumber are now veiled in smoke and screams. Streets overflow with panic. Families scrambling barefoot over cobblestones slick with blood, trying to escape through alleyways already blocked by rubble. The sky, once blue with dawn's promise, burns with red. Black clouds roil overhead, born from burning districts and shattered spell towers. In the capital, Morithal, bells ring. Not for prayer, for war. "Wake the archmages," a commander yells, shoving open the door to the palace's war chamber. His armor dented and still glowing from a recent blast. "Get every damn battalion on the eastern walls." "Where are the marshals?" someone shouts. "We are dead," comes another voice, frantic. "The eastern keep is gone. A mountain-sized beast crushed it." "No time. Sound the evacuation protocols. Move the civilians." From the scrying pool in the center of the war table, flickering images play brief, broken visions from across the kingdom. A Tier 5 sky mage gasps, struggling to hold the enchantment together. Each scene is worse than the last. A coastal city destroyed by a serpent-shaped monsters. A cathedral in the northern highlands torn open by a spider-like monsters. its priests impaled on their own silver relics. And the fortress, what's left of it, just fire and silence. The pool snaps, shatters. The magic dies. Gods! A knight whispers. The royal palace, capital city of Morethal. The king's chambers burst open. King Gol rises from his massive, gold-inlaid bed, already half-dressed by the time his chief steward bursts in. Face pale, breath ragged, scrolls clutched in trembling hands. "Your Majesty!" the man gasps. "What is it?" Gol growls, his voice already taut with tension. "What now?" A second figure enters, blood spattered across his armor. One of the palace knights. He doesn't kneel. He can't. His legs are shaking too violently. 17 cities. The knight breathes. Gone. Gol freezes. "What?" The steward can barely speak. "We received coordinated distress signals from each region, Your Majesty. Eastern, Southern, and Western territories, annihilated in a span of hours. Only 3 cities remain under our banner." 3. Gol's voice sharpens to a blade. "How? Did the Confederacy launch an attack? Is this the CERN Empire? Did every force on the continent turn on us?" "No, Your Majesty," the knight chokes. "That's just it. They aren't human. They're monsters. All of them." A long silence. The king stares. His breath hitches, barely controlled. "Monsters?" "Yes, sire," the steward says, voice cracking. "Every scout report confirms it. Entire legions of them. Organized. United."
Impossible.
Gol's voice is cold steel. "The monsters are fractured. They've been scattered for centuries." Gol clenches his jaw. "And the marshals? What of them?" The knight's lips twitch. His eyes flicker downward. "They responded immediately. All 4 were dispatched to reinforce the city of Valmorn." Gol steps forward. "And they never made contact again, sire." The air grows deathly still. Gol's knuckles whiten as he grips the edge of the table. His voice comes quiet, nearly voiceless. "You're telling me 10 Tier 6 marshals died in a single night?" Neither the steward nor the knight answer. The silence is answer enough. Then, boom! A soundless explosion erupts within the chamber, not of force, but of pressure. The very air groans. King Gol's aura flares. Tier 6. Peak.
Pure. Suffocating dominance.
The floor cracks beneath his feet. The stained glass windows behind him rattle. Light dims. Everyone in the chamber drops to their knees, chests tight, lungs squeezed shut as though the world itself has turned hostile to their existence. Even the magic lamps flicker. One shatters. "Get me a connection." Gol's voice rumbles like the sky before a storm. "Use relics. Use blood if you have to. I don't care how. Contact them again." Suddenly, a voice rolls through the capital. Deep, guttural, ancient. It doesn't come from the sky. Comes from everywhere. From the cracks in the stone. From the marrow of the ground. From within the minds of every awakened soul in Morethal. A single sentence. "Human king." Silence grips the palace. "Come out and face me." Chapter 208. The Fall of Morio's Kingdom. The sound is a pressure more than a sound. Felt in the bones, not the ears. "Or I will bring ruin to your city." Stone by stone. Blood by blood. People fall to their knees in the streets. Children scream. In the war chamber, the knight at Vaynar's side gasps, bleeding from his nose. "That wasn't a spell," he stammers. "That was just his voice." Vaynar doesn't blink. He fly. Then he speaks.
No amplificación. No magic.
Only will. His voice cuts through the air like a blade. "You dare speak to me like that?" The clouds above shudder. The palace trembles with the echo of his fury. King Vaynar steps out onto the highest spire of the royal palace, lightning wreathing his form in crackling arcs. His armor gleams with runic inlays, enchantments centuries old, designed for one purpose: war. His cape billows behind him, shredded by the electric pressure pouring from his body. I am King Vaynar of Morios, he roars. I have ruled unchallenged for 80 years. My kingdom stood while others burned. You lowly monsters think you can waltz across my land and lives. Lightning streaks upward from his back. 6 lances of pure electric magic forming a circle behind him like wings. I will kill you and massacre every last one of your filthy kind. Every monster on this continent will burn beneath my storm. The sky splits. From the horizon, a burning dot approaches. Slow at first, then faster than thought. A meteor? No, a monster. Mazel. He arrives like a comet, his landing an explosion of heat and molten rock on one of the tallest buildings. The cobbled streets melt into lava. Surrounding buildings combust instantly. Screams erupt, but he doesn't even look at them. He looks only at the king. His blackened skin glows with flowing magma veins. The air distorts around him, too hot to breathe. His axes hum with restrained fire. He rises. He floats up, higher and higher, until he meets Vaynar in the storm-dark sky. The kingdom of Morthal spread out below them like a chessboard of fire and ash. You talk too much, Mazel growls. Then they move. The sky detonates. Vaynar is the first to strike. Tier 6 skill. Tempest Judgment. A spear of lightning the size of a tower bursts from his hand and hurtles toward Mazel. Mazel doesn't dodge. He spins his axe and cleaves the sky in two. The lightning shatters on his blade, exploding into blinding fragments that rain down like burning hail over the capital. Vaynar charges in the next instant, faster than sound, sword wreathed in a storm. He slashes. Mazel meets him. Lightning meets flame. Axes and blades crash again and again, each collision tearing the air apart. The shockwaves ripple across the city. Windows burst, towers crack, and people are hurled from rooftops by the sheer force of it. Mazel's twin war axes move like extensions of his wrath. Blades wreathed in molten flame, carving arcs of heat that distort the very air. Every swing releases pulses of compressed pressure, like volcanoes breathing. Vaynar's sword meets them, its storm-forged edge dancing with high voltage. But he's losing ground. Every block sends tremors down his arms. Every parry leaves scorch marks on his armor. He flashes backward, using a burst of lightning to disengage, reappearing high above, panting. His gaze sharpens. This isn't just brute force. He's reading me, countering. He grits his teeth and points skyward. Tier 6 skill. Grand Storm Collapse. A black thundercloud forms above them instantly, pulsing with violent energy. Spears of pure plasma descend from it like divine punishment, each one exploding on contact, turning the sky into a chaotic battlefield. Mazel twirls both axes and rushes into the storm. He's charging through it. Vaynar's eyes widen. Bolts slam into Mazel's body. Some strike direct, others graze, but he never flinches. His magma armor hisses and cracks, but the flames repair it as quickly as it breaks. One thunderbolt blasts into his left shoulder, and he grins. Is this the best you can do? Mazel bellows through the chaos. He appears right in front of Vaynar. Tier 5 skill. Consecutive cleave. Axes blur 1, 2, 3, 10 slashes in less than a second. Vaynar desperately parries, but the 8th strike breaks through. One axe crashes into his side, cracking ribs and sending him spinning midair. Blood sprays, and Vaynar coughs hard as he skids backward. Momentum shattered. Mazel doesn't let up. He rotates in midair and hurls one of his axes like a meteor. Spins once, then vanishes too fast to follow. Vaynar barely tilts his head. The axe grazes past, cutting through his left shoulder plate and into his flesh. He shouts in pain and drops, but Mazel is already behind him. The second axe slams down. Tier 6 skill. Magma Execution. A volcanic shockwave erupts midair, blasting Vaynar downward like a cannonball. He crashes into the largest tower, shattering it, then slams into the streets below, carving a molten crater. The capital screams. Mazel descends slowly, spinning his remaining axe. His discarded weapon zips back to his hand in a trail of embers. Vaynar rises from the rubble, bloodied, wheezing, one knee bent. His lightning aura flickers, unstable. He stares up at Mazel, eyes narrowing. "You're toying with me," he mutters. Mazel shrugs. "You're not worth going all out." He lifts his sword, hand trembling. "We're both peak tier 6. You shouldn't be." "Dominating you?" Mazel cuts in, drifting closer. "It's simple, you're weak." Vaynar surges forward with a roar, his sword blazing brighter than ever. He unleashes a flurry of lightning-infused strikes, forcing Mazel into a brief retreat. But Mazel just laughs. "Good. Get angry." Their blades meet again, the sky lighting up like a battlefield of suns. Below, the capital is in flames. Another minute passes. The once proud sky of Morethal now churns with ash, smoke, and flickering embers. Towers collapse. Thunder rolls, but it's no longer divine. It's desperate, forced, and King Vaynar is falling apart. His swings slow, his breathing grows ragged. His armor, cracked and glowing from the heat, no longer hums with power. He staggers backward after another clash, knees nearly buckling midair. His sword dips low. Mazel floats in front of him, unhurried, untouched, almost bored. His war axes gleam with liquid fire, and his eyes burn like coals. Not with fury, with inevitability. Vaynar coughs, blood flecking his lip. "Tell me something," he pants, voice hoarse. "Are you from the main continent?" Mazel raises a brow at the question. His axe spins once in his hand, slow and deliberate, glowing hotter by the second. "I'm not," he answers. Vaynar squints, disbelieving. That's impossible." He shakes his head, staggering a step back. "Only the 3 main continents. Only they produce monsters like you." Mazel gives a faint, amused breath. "Those main continents you speak of." He looks to the horizon, where the fires of the city cast a blood-red glow over the land. "They'll belong to my lord's empire soon enough. Just like this one." Vaynar stares at him, then laughs. Is wet, half-choked on blood, but still defiant. "Ha, conquer the main continents? You don't even understand what you're saying. Do you know who rules those lands? Do you have any idea what—" He stops. Mazel is no longer smiling. He says nothing. He moves. One blur, then the end. The axe arcs from Mazel's shoulder in a perfect diagonal line.
No flair.
No scream. Just one final motion, clean and final. Vaynar doesn't even have time to finish his thought. The world goes still. For a heartbeat, it seems like nothing happened. Then a faint red line appears across Vaynar's chest. From shoulder to hip. His sword falls first. Then the rest of him follows, cleaved cleanly in two, the halves drifting apart like paper in the wind. Ash scatters from his body. His crown falls last, clanging once on the molten stone before melting into gold. Mazel exhales slowly, turning his head as the flames spread through the capital. He doesn't look back. He doesn't need to. The Storm King is dead. Morios has fallen. The next morning, the sun rises over a different world. The news spreads like wildfire, faster than couriers can gallop. By dawn, every kingdom, fortress, and forces in Ereborn hears the same whisper. Morios has fallen. Not besieged, not broken over weeks.
Fallen.
In one night. No one wants to believe it, but the ash-stained refugees streaming in from the east, their silence confirms what no report can explain. In the border city of Haldren, within the kingdom of Rithimar, Morio's closest ally, panic clings to every street like smoke. Commoners flood the streets, murmuring. Soldiers double their patrols. Noble couriers gallop between keeps. The sky still smells faintly of smoke, though the source lies hundreds of kilometers away. In a crowded tavern, a hushed crowd listens as the barkeep shakily reads the letter again. Confirmed reports. Morethal has fallen. The capital city, destroyed. King Vaynar, confirmed dead. The portal is unguarded. The tankard drops. It shatters against the stone floor. Someone gasps. Then chaos erupts. Questions, accusations, panic. At the back, two men speak in low tones. "That's not possible," says one, gripping his cloak tightly. "Vaynar is a peak tier 6. His capital was fortified by 5 barrier stones." His companion shakes his head. Pale. "Doesn't matter. They say the monster didn't even need a full army. Just one of them. Just him." A woman joins them, armored, with the mark of Thalor's military. Her voice is tight. "They've already summoned the High Council. King Halron is locking down the southern gates and recalling the royal battle mages." The first man looks out the window, toward the smoke-stained sky. "Do we know where the monsters went next?" No answer. Chapter 209. One of the 20 Spears of Breegian Empire. Capital city of Rithimar in the Royal Palace's southern spire. Teleportation Hall. The teleportation chamber is like a living construct of metal and light. The circular platform hovers several inches above the ground. Its frame forged from pure Ethereum, a rare alloy that hums with silent energy. Floating rings of runes orbit the center, slow and precise, like the gears of time itself. The walls are seamless obsidian.
No doors.
No guards, just stillness and tension. King Halron paces at the base of the platform, sweat glistening on his brow despite the chamber's chill. He wears his royal cloak, its gold embroidery freshly pressed, but he keeps tugging at it, an unconscious twitch of nervousness. Behind him, his advisors wait in silence. No one speaks, no one breathes too loud, because today, Rithimar receives a marshal of the Breegian Empire, one of the 20 Spears of the Empire, and even a king must bow. The platform pulses once, bright white, then again blue. The air twists, folding in on itself. The orbiting runes rotate faster. The advisors shift uneasily. Then the chamber flashes. A figure appears in the center. He stands tall, wrapped in a deep crimson cloak etched with black sigils. The armor beneath it is cold gray, plated but sleek, sculpted like muscle and engraved with imperial scripture.
No helmet.
His face is bare, young, but his eyes are ancient, pale silver. On his back, a massive glaive rests in a black metal harness, sealed with enchanted chains. His presence alone crushes the room. King Halron bows deeply, lower than etiquette requires. "Marshal Corvin, Rithimar welcomes you." The marshal's gaze flicks around the room once, measuring, weighing, judging. Then he speaks. "The stench of fear," he murmurs. His voice is smooth, cold. Halron straightens, but not all the way. "Ah, yes, my lord. The news came swiftly. We've just begun. I am not here for explanations." Corvin cuts in. He steps off the platform. The runes freeze behind him. Instantly, obediently, one of the advisors speaks up, hesitant. "Marshal, forgive us. But is it true? Morios is gone. Entirely?" "Yes." Corvin doesn't even look at him. The king's throat tightens. "Then we are next. What do you think?" Corvin replies. He finally meets Halron's eyes. Halron flinches. "Marshal, please, we're prepared to offer full support. The Southern Legion is ready. We've already begun evacuating the eastern borders. Just tell us what the Empire requires." Corvin stares at him, then smiles. It's the kind of smile wolves wear when sheep offer their own necks. "What the Empire requires," Corvin says slowly, "is clarity, coordination, obedience." He begins to walk past them. "Summon your council. Have your generals waiting in the war chamber. And open your vaults. All of them." Halron hesitates. "All of vaults." Corvin stops, looks over his shoulder. "Is there a problem?" Halron says nothing. Corvin walks on. "We're not facing a war, Your Majesty. We're facing extermination. And I will not let Rithimar become the second Morios." He pauses at the chamber's exit. The black wall splits open like a mouth, responding to his presence. "And if you hesitate," he says without turning back, Then when your city burns, I will not be here. He leaves. The wall seals behind him. Halron exhales, body sagging like a deflated bag. That, one of his advisors whispers, was maddening. King Halron says nothing. He's still staring at the closed door, at the ghost of heat and pressure left behind. Like something ancient had walked through the room, and had decided, just for now, not to kill them. Back to Morio's kingdom capital, the palace. The throne room no longer bears the weight of a king. Vaynar's throne is dark, scorched, and fractured down the center. Its cracked obsidian base still smolders faintly from the battle that had ended the kingdom in one night. But not everyone is dead. In the great council chamber behind the throne hall, 3 figures sit at a round table carved from stormwood, a rare material immune to both magic and time. Mazel leans back in his seat, one leg over the other, his axes resting beside him like sleeping beasts. He stares at the open skylight above them, where the sun casts beams across the ruined ceiling. Gander, draped in gray robes, nods slowly. His face is pale, unreadable, but his eyes gleam with calculated satisfaction. The city burns still. Let it. A message written in fire lasts longer than words. Lysaria snorts. She sits at the far end, her crimson braid swinging behind her like a whip. You could have left a few more nobles alive, Mazel. Half the ruling families are ash. I left 3, Mazel says without blinking. Plenty. Lysaria rolls her eyes. 3 cowards hiding in wine cellars. You call that a political base? Gander shrugs. Cowards live longer, and now they'll be loyal. Terror does that better than treaties. Lysaria clicks her tongue but doesn't argue further. She taps the table instead, pulling up a glowing slate. It displays the map of the Morio's kingdom, already marked with blackened sectors and new borders. Report from the eastern garrison says they've begun reconstruction. The survivors are being put to work. We're offering food and clean water in exchange for labor. It's going well. Afraid humans obey faster when they're hungry. Afraid people obey fastest, Mazel corrects, when they believe the next man to disobey will be reduced to cinders. A pause. Gander smiles faintly. Then it's a good thing we gave them such a vivid example. The chamber quiets for a moment. Outside, the wind carries the distant sound of collapsing rubble. Then Lysaria asks, "Where's the rest?" "Scattered," Gander answers. Varkas is reinforcing the tunnels beneath the treasury. Varith and Astrum are guarding the borders. Gorith, I told that guy to help with the construction. After all, he's the reason most of the cities in this kingdom are destroyed. Mazel leans forward, eyes narrowing slightly. What's next? Gander's expression hardens. He touches the slate again. The map of Morio's folds inward, replaced by a broader view, Kalen's entire southern half. Colored banners mark key kingdoms. One of them, on the western edge, pulses faintly. Our next target, he says, is the Rithimar kingdom. Gander nods. The report just came in. They're a lot weaker than Morio's ever was. Soft government, fractured command. No alliances worth noting. Then why not hit 2? Mazel asks. Exactly, Lysaria says, tapping the map. If Rithimar's weak, we can split our forces. Hit multiple kingdoms at once. Force them into panic. Make them scatter. Gander's eyes flicker with approval. That's the plan. Divide and crush. We hit Rithimar publicly. Make it loud. We bait the continent's attention west. Then rip the east apart before they can respond. Suddenly, the air near the chamber's edge distorts. A ripple. A shimmer. Then Vaylith materializes, as if stepping from a crack in space itself. Cloaked in void-black robes that ripple with spectral light, his face is half-shadowed, eyes glowing like pale stars. Urgent news, Vaylith says without preamble. His voice is low and distant, like it doesn't quite belong in this world. Gander doesn't flinch. Oh? Let's hear it. Vaylith's gaze shifts to him. A peak tier 6 human just arrived in Rithimar. Mazel straightens immediately. The weight of that statement coils through the room like a drawn blade. A peak tier 6? He stands, his twin axes humming as they recognize his rising pulse. Then I'll go, Mazel says flatly. Lysaria raises a brow, lips curling. And set the whole city on fire again? Mazel smirks. If it resists. Lysaria rolls her eyes and waves a hand dismissively. No need to charge in. Just keep watching for now. Gander leans forward, fingers steepled. Keep tracking him. Watch every movement. Valeth nods. Understood. Then he's gone. The shadows where he stood collapse inward, vanishing without sound. Somewhere in the shattered woodlands north of Morios, the forest is dying. The air is thick with mist and the scent of burnt bark. Trees loom like twisted skeletons, branches clawing at the sky. Scorched earth crunches beneath heavy steps as a monster patrol moves through the undergrowth in a loose, predatory formation. At their head, Commander Reth, an ogre-like warbeast armored in chitin and iron, snarls as he brushes past a broken tree trunk. One of his eyes glows faintly red, the other is a jagged scar. Behind him, a lankier scout dashes up, panting. "Commander," the scout says, lowering his voice as he kneels. "We lost track of them again." Reth stops. His massive clawed foot sinks into the mud. TSSK. His lip curls in irritation, revealing fangs the size of daggers. "Didn't I tell you to keep 2 watchers on the flanks?" "We did," the scout says quickly. But the bastard moves like a shadow. One moment he was bleeding, then he vanished into the ravine. No blood trail now, just silence. Another monster soldier steps up, a stalk-eyed tracker with vines coiling around his limbs. It's the human commander still fighting. He's not running like the rest. He's hunting too. Reth growls low, cracking his neck. "Let him," he says, "but he'll run out of tricks soon." He raises a claw, signaling the others to spread out. Fan out in pairs. Sweep the ridge. If you smell anything metal or bleeding, report immediately. "And if we see him?" the Vine Scout asks. Reth's eyes flash. "You don't engage. Not unless you want to lose your head. Just stall him. I'll finish this myself." The patrol moves. The forest is quiet again, unnaturally so. Reth exhales, then draws his cleaver from its back sheath. The blade hisses as if eager. He mutters to himself, "Come on, little human. Let's see what kind of commander you really are when there's no army left to save you." Chapter 210. Attacking 5 Kingdoms, Part 1. Deeper in the forest, beneath a crumbling cliffside. The sky is darkening. Night creeps in under the dying canopy, swallowing the last traces of sunlight. Flickers of red still stain the horizon, embers of a kingdom burning behind them. A ragged group moves through the underbrush, not in formation, not like soldiers, like survivors. Commander Rick limps slightly, one arm wrapped tight in a bloodied bandage. His armor is dented, scorched, and half missing, torn away during the retreat from the palace gates. But his eyes stay sharp, focused. Behind him, his daughter stumbles. She's no older than 10, hair matted with soot, cheeks streaked with dried tears. She clutches a doll that smells of smoke and ash. "Daddy!" Her voice is small, trembling. "I don't want to die." Rick stops, just for a moment. He crouches down and takes her hand gently. "You won't," he says softly. "You hear me, Ella? I'll get you out of this, no matter what." She nods, barely, but her lip quivers. His eldest, Darren, 17, wiry but hardened by weeks of marching and fear, steps forward. He places himself between Ella and the woods ahead, back straight, jaw clenched. "Don't worry, I will protect you," Darren says. "I will keep you safe. I swear it." Rick looks at him. For a second, the commander disappears, and only the father remains. Shoulders heavy, heart raw. "You've grown," he murmurs. Darren doesn't reply. His grip tightens on the rusted sword he carries. More weight than blade at this point. Around them, 5 soldiers remain, all wounded, all exhausted. One of them, a captain, leans against a tree, blood leaking through his side. "We should keep moving, Commander," he says through grit teeth. "They're tracking us. I can smell them again." "I know," Rick replies. He rises slowly, eyes scanning the shadows. "We'll rest once we hit the river bend. If the map's right, there's an old fort ruin there. We dig in, just for the night." "What if the map's wrong?" another soldier asks quietly. "Then we keep running," Rick says, "until our legs give out. Or until I kill that bastard chasing us." A silence falls over the group, the kind only people who've lost too much know. Then Ella speaks again, quieter this time. "Is Mommy watching us?" Rick swallows hard. Darren lowers his head. "Yeah," Rick finally says, voice tight. "She is, and she'd want us to keep going." He places a hand on Ella's head. "So that's what we're gonna do." He turns to the others. "Let's move." They vanish into the trees, swallowed by mist, hunted by monsters, clinging to hope. That same despair echoes across the ruins of Morios. From the ash-choked fields to the shattered watchtowers, it's the same scene repeating. Groups of soldiers and civilians scrambling for escape, some vanishing into the forests, others caught by patrols with no mercy to offer. For every one that slips through, 5 more are dragged from hiding, surrounded, or slaughtered outright in the mud. The screams fade quickly. The kingdom is dying, its people being bled out piece by piece. But not all hope is extinguished. Small knots of resistance break through the borders, carried by sheer desperation. Near the southern border of Morios, in the blackened remains of a fortress overlook, the air is thick with tension. Smoke from distant fires mixes with the scent of damp earth and cold wind. Night is falling fast, casting long shadows over the war-hardened border fortress that Vareth and Astrum now command. They stand atop the battlements, cloaks whipping in the wind. Below, monstrous troops patrol the outer wall, serpents, scaled beasts, and horned warriors moving like a tide waiting to surge. A faint pulse of magic flares on the comstone embedded in Astrum's gauntlet. He taps it. A crackling voice emerges. Calm, deliberate, and familiar. "Gander, you too will attack Arland," he says without preamble. "Varkas and Gorath will hit Irovia. Lysaria and I are moving toward Silveran. Mazel's taking Rithamar alone. And the Bone Piercers, they're going east." Risser. Astrum's brow furrows. The scale of it hits all at once. "So we're attacking 5 kingdoms at the same time?" "Correct." Vareth leans on the cold stone wall, arms crossed. "That's a bold move, even for us." Astrum nods. "Is it wise to split our strength that thin?" A pause. Then Gander answers, calm, but with a hint of grim satisfaction. "These kingdoms are weak, unprepared. We're not fighting unified nations, we're swatting flies, cleaning the edges of our territory before we move in deeper." Vareth chuckles under her breath, the sound sharp as a blade drawn. "So it's not war, it's pruning." "Exactly," Gander replies. "This isn't the hard part. This is the foundation. Once they fall, the heart of the continent will panic. And when they started to group, we'll already be inside the gates." Astrum's expression darkens. He stares toward the horizon, where faint lights flicker. Arland's border towns, unaware of the shadow creeping toward them. "Understood," he says finally. "Good. Start your march tonight. Crush any resistance before it has a chance to rally. No mercy, no delay." The comstone dims. The connection ends. The wind howls through the ruined parapets. Vareth exhales, steam curling from his lips. 5 kingdoms at once. We're making history. Astrum's eyes glow faintly in the dark. We're ending it. And in the night, 5 fires begin to rise, each one a signal that the conquest has truly begun. Irovia, capital city. In a quiet neighborhood tucked between old stone streets, inside a modest home where warmth still clings to the wooden walls, a mother hums softly as she pulls a blanket over her daughter. The girl, no more than 7, looks up at her with wide, uncertain eyes. "Mommy," she whispers. "They said monsters from the other continent are coming, and they're killing everyone." The mother freezes mid-tuck, the color draining from her face. "What?" "My friend told me." The girl continues, innocent and grave. "He said his family's leaving Irovia. They packed already. He said the monsters are mad at us because we made them slaves." She frowns. "Is that true? Did we make the monsters angry?" The mother forces a smile, shaky, thin. "Sweetheart, don't think about that. It's just stories. Okay? Children shouldn't worry something like that." But Lino said it's not a story. He said his dad heard it from a soldier. He said the monsters burn cities down, even the people hiding. The mother's throat tightens. She brushes the girl's hair gently, her voice quiet. "Just sleep, baby. I'm here. You're safe. Nothing's going to happen to us. Promise." "I promise." The girl nods and closes her eyes. The mother stays there for a moment longer, trying to believe her own words. Then, light. The room flashes white, as if the sun itself exploded outside the window. The mother's head jerks toward the glow, eyes wide, lips parting in stunned silence. Outside, the sky isn't night anymore. It's fire. Colossal flames hurtles down from the heavens, trailing smoke and embers like the tail of a vengeful comet. There's no time to scream. The fireball slams into the city, crushing towers, shattering stone, igniting streets. And one of them, burning bright as judgment, descends directly toward their home. The girl opens her eyes just in time to see her mother reach for her. Then everything goes white. The house erupts in fire. Their bodies are ash before the sound even catches up. All across Irovia, others rise from their beds, hearing the first explosions, the roar of flames, the shaking earth. But for the mother and her daughter, the war ends in a single instant. The fireballs finish falling. The city's great outer wall, pride of Irovia, built of white stone and enchanted silver, is now a smoking crater. Towers lie in rubble, their guards turned to blackened silhouettes mid-scream. The blast wave has shattered rooftops miles inward, and the wind that follows smells of scorched flesh and molten metal. And then comes the ground shake. Footsteps, heavy, thunderous. A monstrous figure walks through the haze. His silhouette is broad as a war wagon, his every step cracking stone beneath his boots. Vareth. He stops just before the breach, looking down at the ruined city, flames licking the skyline. Astrum floats down beside him, descending. He surveys the devastation with silent calculation. Vareth cracks his neck. Astrum smirks. "The wall fell faster than I expected. You want the honors." Vareth's laugh is a low, rumbling boulder roll. "Always." He draws his axes and roars. "Charge!" From behind them, a tide erupts, thousands of monsterkin pouring through the breach. Hulking ogres, scaled troopers, war beasts with bone armor plating. Magic-fused berserkers roar into the flames, blades already slick with earlier blood. Spellcasters chant behind them, weaving shields of black and gold. The monsters surge like a tidal wave through the opening, and the battle for Irovia truly begins. In the city square, Irovian garrison forms a ragged defense at the plaza. Royal guards, conscripted militia, a handful of mages. Captain Selra, missing her left eye and leaning on a scorched spear, bellows above the chaos. "Hold the line. Protect the civilians. Archers, form ranks now." They do. Arrows fly. They barely slow the monsters down. A serpentkin cleaves through 3 spearmen with a single tail whip. A fire mage attempts to cast, but a warhound leaps onto her, tearing her throat out before the spell finishes. The lines collapse within seconds, and then Vareth himself slams into the front. His first axe swing cleaves through a guard tower. The second cuts down 6 defenders in a blur of blood and shattered steel. Then, a sudden crack splits the sky. It's not thunder. Above the city, the clouds tear open, not with flame or smoke, but with light. And descending from that light, faster than any spell, faster than thought itself, is a figure wreathed in radiant energy. White and gold stream from his form, cloak fluttering like a banner of divine wrath. Chapter 211. Attacking Five Kingdoms, Part 2. The figure lands. With an impact like judgment, he strikes the ground between the fleeing civilians and the charging monsters. Pavement shatters. The shockwave flattens tents, cracks walls, and sends even ogres staggering back. He rises from the crater, and the light dims just enough to reveal him. Tall, broad-shouldered, clad in plated armor of silver and royal blue, etched with glowing runes. A crimson cape snaps behind him, singed at the edges but whole. His gaze is fixed, cold, burning. Marshal of Irovia, a Tier 6 champion of the crown. The soldiers behind him gasp, some with relief, some with awe. He speaks with quiet fury, his voice low but resonant, carried by the magic rippling from his very presence. Monster, I will kill you. I will avenge the innocent who died today. The silence that follows is broken only by Varith's slow, sharp laugh. Varith steps forward, axe dripping red. He lifts it and taps it against his shoulder, eyes gleaming with something between amusement and contempt. With your strength? That'll be hard to achieve. He tilts his head, grinning wide enough to show his sharp fangs. But since you said that, then let me say this. He spreads his arms, flame and shadow dancing across his scaled armor. I will kill all of you humans. For every innocent monster you enslaved. For everyone you butchered and burned and laughed at while chained. Astrum lands beside him silently, his eyes narrow at Kale.
No emotion.
Just calculation. Irovia will be your grave, Varith finishes. And then, the marshal moves. In a blur of light, he closes the distance, spear in hand, the tip blazing with condensed mana. His thrust is aimed directly at Varith's throat, fast enough to pierce steel in a blink. But, clang! Varith twists, his axe rising to intercept the blow. Sparks explode as steel meets steel, the force of the clash rippling through the broken plaza like a quake. Cracked tiles shoot into the air, and wind bursts outward in concentric waves. The marshal skids back 3 paces, eyes narrowing. Good reflexes. Varith grins, his shoulder twitching from the impact. You're faster than the last one. Let's see if you last longer. He lunges. Axe whirl, the marshal pivots, parrying the first, sidestepping the second, then countering with a rising spear slash that aims for Varith's gut. The monster twists mid-motion, letting the blow graze his scale-plated waist. Blood sprays, but just a line. A warning. Varith doesn't stop. He slams his foot down, cracking the ground, and brings his right axe upward in a brutal arc. The marshal blocks, but he's forced back again, his boots carving twin gouges in the stone. Astrum watches for only a second more before lifting his hand. A soft mist curls from his fingertips. However, before he can attack, a second figure slams down behind the first marshal, ice cracking beneath her armored heels. The second Tier 6 of Irovia. She's leaner than her counterpart, her armor a pale silver etched with runes that pulse with pale sapphire light. Her presence is sharp, like a blade drawn slowly from its sheath. Her helmet is off, revealing hair the color of frost and eyes that gleam with blue fire. She doesn't speak to Varith. She speaks to Astrum. You're the one who froze our northern border, she says flatly. Astrum finally turns his head, his voice calm. And if I am? I will kill you, she says through gritted teeth. You killed my family and destroyed my hometown. Astrum raises a hand, and the ground beneath her erupts in a blast of ice. Jagged spears of frost shoot upward, trying to impale her. But Vesra leaps. She spins midair, landing lightly on a rooftop, her blade glowing with heat, already countering the cold. The duel begins. Below, Varith is laughing, pure, brutal joy in the sound. His axes grind against Kale's spear again and again, their movements too fast for normal eyes to follow. Every swing of Varith's weapons sends shockwaves out across the plaza, toppling debris, ripping apart the cobblestones. His power is monstrous, raw, wild, unchained. Far to the east, in the heartlands of the kingdom of Rissur, dawn never comes. The sky over the eastern reaches is choked with black clouds. Ash rains softly over the fields, and the forests have gone silent. No birdsong, no wind, only the slow, unnatural creak of death inching closer. On the horizon, a black tide marches. The Bonepiercer's legion. Their numbers are impossible to count. An endless, shifting army of undead monsters. Stitched horrors, skeletal giants, rotting beasts reanimated with cruel artistry. Some crawl, dragging the broken chains of past lives. Others hover, eyes burning with violet flame. Winged ghouls circle above, scouting ahead with shrieks that freeze blood. They march without banners, without cries, without mercy. At their head stride 20 towering figures, each a Tier 6 commander. Their presence bends the air, warps the soil beneath their feet. Their magic is wrong. Like the smell of spoiled flesh and rusted iron, like memories you forgot for a reason. One of them, a knight whose armor is fused to his decaying body, raises a blade formed of bone and shadow. He doesn't speak. He wills the charge forward. And Rissur breaks. Villages vanish in silence. The Bonepiercers don't pillage. They erase. Homes crumble without a trace. People disappear without screams. Whole battalions sent to the borders vanish from scrying stones in minutes. A terrified priest reports what little he can before his voice cuts off mid-chant. They don't fight like soldiers. They devour the manna from the land itself. The crops are dead. The rivers run black. We can't cast. We can't. The transmission ends. In Rissur's capital, one of the 5 Marshal S of Rissur grips the edge of the war table, his knuckles white. Generals whisper behind him, none willing to say what's now clear. This isn't a battle. This is a cleansing. The silence in the war chamber is suffocating. Only the sound of distant bells tolling, funeral bells, echo through the palace corridors. Messengers kneel, panting, dust-covered and blood-splattered, while officers pore over maps that grow more meaningless by the hour. Red lines become obsolete before the ink dries. The marshal turns slowly toward the others. His face is lined, not with age, but with the weight of knowing. 3 of his comrades, Tier 6 powerhouses, the pride of Rissur, are already dead, cut down one after the other in desperate attempts to stall the advance of the undead. And still the Bonepiercers come. They're not heading toward our defenses, one general whispers. They're bypassing every strong point. It's like they already know where everything is. The marshal doesn't respond at first. Then, slowly he raises his head. They do, he says quietly. Gasps ripple through the room. But before outrage can take hold, a tremor runs through the floor. Subtle but unmistakable. The chandeliers sway slightly. Dust falls from the stone ceiling. Another tremor follows. Heavier. Closer. No. Someone breathes, voice cracking. They're here. Already? They moved through the cursed swamps. Another mutters. No sane force would try that route. No scouts ever made it back. We didn't even bother fortifying. Because they don't breathe, the marshal snaps. They don't rest. They walked through poison and death because it's what they are. A sudden shriek, inhuman, metallic, rips through the night outside, and then a sound like 1,000 bones snapping at once. The war table shakes. A servant screams in the hallway before being cut short. So suddenly, so absolutely, the room freezes. The remaining 2 marshals lock eyes. They don't speak for a moment. Then the older one turns sharply toward the Tier 5 general standing at attention beside the map table, face pale but steady. You, General, the marshal says. The general straightens. Yes, Marshal. You're to escort the royal family to the Western Passage. Don't take the roads. Use the old Undercroft tunnels and stay clear of the watchposts. Don't stop for anything. Herrick doesn't hesitate. He salutes, fist to heart. I understand. I'll see them safely out, even if I have to carry each one on my back. Do it. The marshal nods once. Your orders are to succeed, even if the capital falls. The younger marshal steps forward. His voice is low and calm, but his eyes burn with silent fury. If you fail, our kingdom will truly fall. I won't, the general promises. Then he's gone, already running, already shouting orders to his men as the doors slam behind him. The chamber feels colder now. The walls creak. Faint moaning echoes from beyond the palace. A sound like the city itself is weeping. The two marshals remain. There's nothing left to say, and yet, one of them exhales a slow breath and chuckles without humor. Well, I suppose this is it. The older one nods, his expression like stone. Time to do what we were born to do. Die? The younger one says, almost joking. No, the elder replies. He draws his blade, the runes along its length flickering weakly, like a candle before it dies. Buy time. The younger marshal grins, a grim, resigned thing. He unbuckles his cloak, lets it fall, and rolls his shoulders as golden energy coils around his arms. Then let's make it expensive. A distant tower explodes. The sky outside the windows glows a sickly purple. Screams now closer. The bone piercers have entered the outer wards. The palace itself is next. But the marshals walk, not run, through the great doors of the war chamber and into the darkened halls beyond, where shadows now shift in unnatural ways. One of them speaks softly, as the distant thunder of war draws near. If we fail here, make them bleed for every stone. And together they vanish into the storm. Chapter 212. Alex arrives in Ereborn Continent. 1 month later, in Alex's working chamber, the soft glow of arcane lamps fills the chamber. Tomes are stacked on side tables. Charts of ley lines and magical forecasts are pinned to the walls. At the center sits Alex, silent, the low rustle of parchment the only sound. Across from him kneels a member of the shadows, hooded, wrapped in loose black armor layered with thin enchantments. Her voice is low but steady, the kind meant only for his ears. It's going well, Your Majesty, she says. The invasion has progressed faster than expected. Alex raises his eyes from the map. How fast? The shadow pulls out a scroll, unfurls it, and places it on the desk between them. We've secured roughly 5% of Ereborn's surface land. That includes 5 minor kingdoms, 4 major border cities, and several autonomous provinces in the outer east. The bone piercers took the central edge of Risser and are spreading west, unchecked. Only 5%, he says, not with disappointment but calculation. The shadow nods. Ereborn is massive, at least twice the size of Caelend, perhaps more. We've confirmed the existence of over 30 active kingdoms and confederacies, and that's not counting hidden city-states or nomadic factions. Alex doesn't blink. And the response? Uncoordinated at first, but now they're starting to group, and almost all forces on the continent know about our invasion, she replies. Most assumed it was just another border incursion until the sky changed over Risser. The bone piercers made it clear this was something else entirely. Alex taps a finger slowly on the armrest. Casualties? Minimal on our side. Monster legions are maintaining formation. Adventurer legions and conscripted mercenary units are holding the rear lines well. Gander's been rotating front lines using teleportation portals. Keeps pressure constant. Resistance. Growing, but fragmented. Some kingdoms have started to form coalitions. Others are too afraid or too prideful. Internal rivalries are still stronger than their fear of us. Alex glances toward the great map hanging on the far wall, marked now with new flags, glowing crimson and black. His colors. Alex leans back slightly in his chair, the firelight catching in his eyes. What about that empire? He says, voice calm but sharp. The one that have half the continent? The Bregian Empire. The shadow replies, her tone clipped. They reacted immediately. The same day the Morios kingdom fell, they had already deployed one of their 20 spears to Rithimar. But that spear fled while fighting Mazel. Alex's gaze narrows slightly. The spears. Your last report said each of them is peak tier 6. Yes, Your Majesty, she confirms. He waves a hand dismissively. You can go now. Let the others know if they need anything. I expect to be contacted immediately. Resources, reinforcements, whatever they ask for, they get it. The shadow bows low. Understood, Your Majesty. She vanishes silently into the shadows, like smoke fading into the dark. Alex is alone again, but the fire crackles a little louder. Alex watches the flames dance for a moment longer, then exhales slowly, voice quiet, just above a whisper. I guess it's time to visit that continent myself. He doesn't say it with impatience or anticipation, just a quiet resolve, an inevitability. The next few days are different, slower, quieter. Alex spends them not in his working chamber, but beside Ruva. He teaches her, trains her not just in mana shaping or element manipulation, but the things she's been most curious about. How to disarm a spell trap mid-cast. How to twist a tier structure mid-channel. How to stabilize internal flow under emotional stress. The lessons aren't always strict. Sometimes they don't even feel like lessons. They walk through the garden trail, Ruva peppering him with endless questions. Sometimes they race spells through the air, betting sweets. Sometimes they just lie in the grass, her tail curled comfortably near his leg as they watch clouds pass through shifting skies. One evening, Ruva tugs his sleeve as they sit on the palace rooftop, stars glittering overhead. You're gonna be gone a while, big brother? Alex looks up at the moon. Yeah. Ruva is quiet for a moment, her eyes tracing the stars. Then she shifts closer, hugging her knees. Can I go with you? Alex turns to her. He doesn't answer immediately, just smiles gently, and places a hand on her head, brushing her hair back with quiet care. Right now, no. Ruva frowns, not in defiance, but disappointment. Because I'm still small? He chuckles softly. Because the places I'm going aren't meant for someone who still laughs when cake wins over training. She scrunches her nose. I only laugh because the cake is really good. I know. He leans back, folding his arms behind his head. That's why I haven't taken you yet. She kicks her feet lightly over the ledge, tail curling and uncurling behind her. Then, quieter. Can I go to your wars if I get stronger? Alex glances at her. There's no playfulness in her voice this time, just quiet conviction, buried beneath 13 years of curiosity, longing, and something else she hasn't found words for yet. If I get strong enough, strong like you. He doesn't answer right away. Instead, he watches the stars for a long moment, like he's weighing more than just her words. Then he says softly, if you get strong enough and if you still want to, I won't stop you. Ruva turns her head toward him, eyes widening. Promise. Alex doesn't look at her. I'd rather you never needed to fight. I'd rather you lived a quiet life, safe and far from what I deal with. But that's not a promise, she says quickly. He finally looks back at her. His smile is faint, but his voice is firm. If you grow strong enough to stand in my world, and not just strong in magic, but in heart, in will, then yes. You'll walk beside me. Ruva's face lights up like a lantern. I'll get there, she says, clenching her fists. I'll catch up. You better, he says, because by then, I'll be even further ahead. That's cheating, she grumbles. That's life, he replies. And somewhere in the quiet between them, as the wind brushes across the rooftop, Ruva silently swears, one day, she'll stand beside him on a battlefield, not as a shadow behind, but as his equal. A sudden shimmer in the middle of a forest glade distorts the air like heat haze. Then, with a silent ripple, the natural portal opens. Alex steps through. The scent of unfamiliar soil and wild mana hits him immediately, sharper, denser than Kalen's. The sky above is the same blue, but there's a stillness here, like the land is watching. Alex takes one step forward, then another, until the portal hums and fades behind him.
No guards. No entourage. No announcement.
He hasn't told a soul he's coming. He's not here to lead the war. He's here to see it. The wind stirs his coat as Alex scans the horizon. Untamed forests stretching for miles, broken only by faint roads that twist toward faraway cities. He exhales once, then lifts into the sky, his form blurring into a streak of wind and shadow. For days he flies across unfamiliar lands, passing above merchant caravans, burned watchtowers, and shattered forts. He sees signs of war, smoke curling from distant villages, convoys of refugees dragging carts down dusty roads, but doesn't intervene. He's not here for them. Not yet. After nearly a week of quiet travel, the towering walls of a capital city rise before him, carved into the base of a jagged plateau. Massive stone gates, paved courtyards, and spires inlaid with golden runes shimmer in the morning sun. Alex lands unseen in a quiet alley beyond the eastern gate, the wind settling as he touches down. His form ripples, cloak changing, horns vanishing, his monster form disappearing beneath a glamored fold. His once glowing eyes fade into a calm, stormy gray. Just another teenage traveler now. Loose tunic, leather boots, a satchel over his shoulder. A subtle enchantment keeps any lingering aura muted. To the world, he's nobody. He steps out into the city, blending into the crowd. Merchants haggle on street corners, shouting about fresh root fruit and heatstone-laced bread. Scribes run messages between towers. Knights in white-plated armor march by on patrol, glaring at any non-human features. One of them passes Alex and mutters to his partner, "Watch the half-bloods. We missed one last week." Alex keeps walking. He turns onto a quiet street and pauses at a bakery window, watching as a child presses her face to the glass, pointing at sweet buns inside. A voice beside him cuts through the air. "You new here?" Alex glances to the side. A boy, no older than 15, leans against the wall, arms crossed, dirt on his face, but his eyes sharp. "First time in Vassran?" the boy asks. Alex nods. "Passing through." "You traveling alone?" the boy asks again, cautious. "I am." The boy eyes him, then shrugs. "Weird time to pass through. People are getting drafted. Kingdom's calling in every able body. You don't want to get caught up in that." "I'll manage." The boy squints at him, then suddenly grins. "Well, you don't look like much," he says, brushing a hand through his mess of brown hair. "So they probably won't bother. But if you're lost or, just really bad at reading road signs, I can help you tour the city." Alex lifts a brow. "Tour guide, are you? Call it freelance orientation," the boy says with a smirk. "Only 1 silver coin. Special rate, just for you." Alex studies him for a second. The boy is clearly street smart. His boots are worn, patched with old thread. His shirt's been sewn back together more times than it should have lasted. But there's confidence in his posture. Not arrogance, survival. He's probably been guiding people for a while now. And even if he's exaggerating, Alex knows the value of blending in, and local knowledge always pays off. Chapter 213. Innate ability detected. Bloodweave Dominion. He reaches into his pocket and flips a silver coin into the air. The boy catches it with practiced ease, grinning wide. "Smart choice, stranger. Name's Dostaren." "Okay," he replies. Dostaren jerks his thumb over his shoulder. "Come on, then. Stick close. I'll show you the good alleys, the bad markets, and the one bathhouse that doesn't try to rob you while you're naked." Alex said under his breath. "That's oddly specific." "Experience, my friend," Dostaren says, walking backward now, hands behind his head. "And trust me, Vassran looks pretty from up close, but this city's got teeth." Alex follows him deeper into the winding streets. The crowd thins, the air shifts, and with every turn Kale leads him through, Alex takes it all in quietly. The layers of the kingdom, the tension beneath its golden towers. As they round a corner into a wider street, the scent in the air changes. No longer just roasted nuts or forge smoke, but something more acrid, like sun-baked leather and dust rubbed with sweat. Dostaren slows his pace, glancing sideways at Alex. "Wanna see the slave market?" he asks, voice casual, like he's offering a shortcut, not a shock. "It's just up ahead." Alex pauses for a breath, masking the flicker behind his eyes. "Okay," he says. "Let's go." Darren leads him down a sloping avenue where the buildings shift from polished stone to reinforced iron bars and high wooden fences. There are more guards here, some wearing royal crests, others draped in house sigils or mercenary chains. The air hums with heat and noise. They pass under a heavy stone arch, carved with old imperial glyphs. Beyond it, the slave market opens up like a festering wound in the city's heart, wide, loud, and alive with bartering. Rows of platforms are scattered across the square, each with wooden frames or raised cages. Merchants call out over the din, voices booming with pride or mockery. Strong arms, reinforced spine, good for labor. Obedient, low mana trace. Ideal for indoor work. Fresh blood beastkin. No known curses. Alex slows his steps, eyes flicking from one platform to another. Most of the slaves are monsters. Some are chained by the neck, others bound by magical collars glowing faintly. A few snarl quietly under their breath, eyes blazing with hatred, but most are silent, expression hollow, resigned. He spots a draconid boy no older than Ruva crouched behind the bars of a small cage, one wing broken and dragged awkwardly against the floor. His yellow eyes stare blankly past the crowd. But not all of them are monsters. On one platform, a young human girl is being advertised with her price written in chalk behind her. She's pale, bruised around the wrist, and stares at the ground while the merchant beside her boasts about her ability to write, cook, and keep quiet. "Yeah," Darren says beside him, hands in his pockets. "Told you this city has teeth." "You sound used to it," Alex says quietly. Darren shrugs. "You get numb after a while. Nobody here cares if you're born free or sold off. Half the nobles keep personal stocks. Half the soldiers buy spoils. It's normal." Alex doesn't respond. He just watches as a beastkin woman, ears drooped, chained at the ankles, is pulled up to the next platform. Darren leans in. "They say the farther east you go, the worse it gets. Breejan Empire runs half the slave routes. Whole caste system built on who they can break." Darren barks a quiet laugh. "The city runs it. One of the princes owns a quarter of this district. These aren't criminals, they're merchandise." Alex is silent again, his storm-gray eyes sweeping over the market. He watches a merchant shove a chained monster girl to the ground and sneer at her while she winces. Watches the crowd jeer. Sees a nobleman nod once and drop a gold coin into the merchant's hand. Although Alex keeps his face perfectly calm. Cold, unreadable, the face of a quiet traveler passing through. Beneath the surface, his eyes flicker with controlled calculation. A transparent, floating screen only he can see hovers before him, flickering with faint blue light. It follows his gaze silently, shifting each time he looks at a slave. The status screen function of the system hums softly in his mind. Analyzing target. Name, Krezen. Race Ogrekin. Tier 1. Condition, malnourished, spirit suppressed. Innate trait, none. He blinks once and shifts his attention. Name, Nella. Race, Lamia. Tier 2. Condition, broken spirit, mana sealed. Innate trait, none. He continues walking, letting the screen do its work silently. Darren doesn't notice a thing. "See the guy yelling up there?" the boy says, pointing toward a platform where a stocky merchant in green robes boasts loudly. "He's been selling for 20 years. They say if it breathes and bleeds, he's sold it twice." Alex doesn't answer. His gaze drifts past the platform to a low, shadowed cage near the back. There, almost hidden behind the others, a woman kneels, motionless. She has long, silver hair matted with dirt, and a single horn cracked near the tip. Her hands are chained in front of her, ankles bound, but unlike the others, she isn't slouched in defeat. She kneels perfectly straight, silent, eyes closed. Her breathing is calm. Alex's gaze lingers, and the system responds. Analyzing target. Race, Oni. Tier, 3. Condition. Severely suppressed mana seals. 2 physical degradation. Moderate. Innate ability detected. Bloodweave Dominion. Bloodweave Dominion, a rare ability, allowing manipulation of blood, self and external, for offensive and defensive purposes. Innate potential. High. Status. Dormant. Alex's eyes still as the screen fades. He stands there longer than a moment, expression unreadable, even as the wind brushes past his cloak. His gaze fixes on the woman. Not the bruises, not the dirt, but the stillness. There's no fear in her posture, no plea for help, just silence. Dostaren notices him pause and squints, trying to follow his line of sight. That one? The boy says. Ha! Weird pick. Nobody touches her. Alex speaks, voice low. Why? Seller says she's cursed. Like real cursed. Few buyers claimed she gave them nosebleeds just by looking at her. One guy swore his heart skipped a beat when she blinked. Literally. Alex's gaze sharpens just slightly. Has she been tested? Tested. Dostaren snorts. No one wants to waste a gold coins on a silent freak. Every time I passed by, they keep her chained and sealed, and she just sits there. Dostaren glances sideways at Alex, then grins as if something just clicked in his head. You want to buy her? He says, voice low but eager. I know the merchant that owns her, Jask. He's been trying to get rid of her for a month now. She's scaring off his regulars. I bet I can talk him into a discount if I tell him you're serious. Alex doesn't answer immediately. His eyes are still on the cage. Dostaren nudges his elbow. Come on. Let me work the angle. You'd be surprised how cheap people get when they think they're holding poison. Alex finally gives a small nod. Go. All right, watch this. Dostaren cracks his knuckles and strides ahead. They approach the merchant, a broad-shouldered man in green robes with sweat glistening down his neck. He's arguing with a guard about paperwork when Dostaren calls out. Oi, Jask. The merchant turns, frowning. What? I brought you a buyer, Dostaren says, motioning behind him to Alex. He's interested in the cursed one. Jask blinks, then laughs, short and sharp. That one? You serious? He's serious, Dostaren replies confidently. He's not from around here. Doesn't scare easy. Said she caught his eye. The merchant eyes Alex as he steps closer. Humph. You sure you're not wasting my time, stranger? Alex meets his gaze flatly. What's her price? Jask scratches at his stubbled jaw. Was 500 gold. Dropped it to 300 last week. Still no bites. Too many damn rumors. Dostaren jumps in smoothly. 3 steep for a cursed, sealed, silent nobody, Jask. He's doing you a favor just showing interest. Jask snorts. Yeah. You always talk like you've got coin. Fine. 250 gold coins. I'm not going lower than that unless she dies in the cage. Alex doesn't haggle. He reaches into his satchel and pulls out a small pouch. The coins clink with quiet weight as he holds it out. 2.5, he says, voice flat. Jask snatches the pouch, pops it open with a practiced flick of his thumb, and counts the gleam of gold with a sharp eye. Ha! Didn't think you had the balls or the coin. You travelers usually flinch at the first whisper of cursed. He stuffs the pouch into his belt, then turns to a small iron lockbox at his side. From it, he pulls out a folded strip of parchment inscribed with runes. Control diagram. Hold out your hand, Jask says. Alex lifts his right hand without a word. The merchant slaps the parchment into his palm, and it instantly dissolves into glowing threads of light. The strands crawl across Alex's skin like ink in water, searing briefly before settling into a black sigil etched onto his palm like a tattoo. The mark pulses once, then dims. There, Jask grunts. You own her now. The slave seal's linked to you. Don't lose your hand, or someone else might claim it. Alex doesn't look at the mark. He just closes his hand into a fist and glances back toward the cage. Beside him, Dostaren whistles. Damn, what a steal. If she wasn't cursed, she'd go for double that. Triple, even. Too bad. Even by just standing there, I can feel my blood getting hot, like something's pulling at my veins. Chapter 214, Carnessa. Alex glances down at the new mark on his hand, then looks toward the cage again. The woman is still standing, still silent, but her eyes, those calm, steady crimson eyes, are open now, watching him. Not a word leaves her lips. Alex walks toward the cage and gestures. Come. The chains clink softly as the woman steps forward. Her movements are slow but deliberate, like every inch of her is being weighed against unseen resistance. She stops just in front of Alex, close enough for her breath to touch the edge of his cloak. Then, in a voice as quiet as smoke, she speaks for the first time. Master! The word hangs in the air, fragile and strange. Not desperate, not submissive, just a statement of fact. Alex studies her face. Dirt-smeared, blood-flecked, eyes like still embers beneath ash. What is your name? He asks. A long pause follows. Her eyes drop, not out of shame but thought. She tilts her head slightly, as if searching for something within herself that no longer exists. I don't have one, she says at last. Master! The market noise fades in Alex's ears. His voice, when it comes, is low and steady. Then I'll give you one. She lifts her gaze again, meeting his eyes. Alex's expression doesn't change. From now on, your name is Carnessa. For a moment, she doesn't react. Then, like a ripple through still water, something shifts behind her eyes. Flicker, faint but real. Carnessa? She repeats softly, tasting the word like it's foreign metal on her tongue. The name settles in the air like a quiet oath. Alex turns, Carnessa following closely behind, her chains now carried with a strange dignity rather than burden. Dostaren glances between the two, eyes wide with something between awe and confusion. They exit the slave market through the same archway they came in, though this time the sun feels hotter, the air heavier. The noise fades behind them, swallowed by the narrow streets of Vasrin once more. As they reach a quieter stretch, Alex pauses and turns to Dostaren. Here, he says, and tosses the boy a small, weighty pouch. Dostaren catches it with both hands, eyebrows lifting at the sound of clinking metal. He opens it halfway and sees the unmistakable glint of 5 gold coins. His mouth parts slightly. You serious? You did what I asked, Alex says. And you didn't lie. Dostaren lets out a low laugh, both surprised and delighted. Well, damn, I was just hoping for a silver or two. He tucks the pouch away quickly, eyes gleaming with sudden warmth. Thanks, good sir. Really, this'll feed the whole alley gang for a week. Maybe 2 if I stretch it. Alex gives a slight nod, already starting to walk again. Carnessa follows silently behind him, the sigil on his palm pulsing once like a sleeping ember. Dostaren watches them disappear down the road, still holding the pouch in one hand. He shakes his head, grinning to himself. Who would have thought? He mutters. A guy looking like that's packing gold like a bloody noble. The door to the inn-room closes behind them with a soft click. Its modest, bare stone walls, a wooden bed frame with coarse linens, and a narrow window letting in the faint amber glow of sunset. A small basin of water sits on the side table. Alex doesn't say anything at first. He removes his cloak and sets it aside, then tosses a few coins on the table for the innkeeper's tab. Carnessa stands near the door, unmoving. Her wrists are still ringed with the raw marks of old restraints, and though she's no longer bound, she stands as if she is. After a moment, her voice cuts through the silence. Master, she says quietly, are you not affected by my curse? Alex, still half facing away, doesn't turn to her immediately. He speaks as he begins pouring water into the basin. You don't have a curse. Carnessa flinches just slightly. She looks at him, brow faintly furrowed in confusion. But the others, they bled. Some collapsed. One man ran screaming just from being near me. Alex turns now, meeting her eyes. His voice remains calm, measured. That wasn't a curse. What you have is an innate ability. She stares at him for a long second. Innate ability? Yes, Alex says, nodding slightly. Something you were born with. Not given by magic. Not learned from a book. It's a rare phenomenon, usually tied to bloodlines or something deeper. Carnessa's brows draw together. She looks down at her hands, then back to him. Then why does it hurt people? Because it's uncontrolled, Alex says simply. Untamed power lashes out, especially when the one holding it is hurt, angry, afraid. She's silent again, taking it in like a foreign language. So, I am not cursed, she whispers, more to herself than to him. The idea sounds almost too fragile to believe. Alex nods once, then turns toward the narrow door leading to the washroom. Clean yourself, he says. Tomorrow, I'll help you learn how to control your innate ability. Carnessa hesitates for a moment, then silently obeys. She gathers the cloth, steps inside the washroom, and closes the door behind her with a quiet thud. The sound of water follows. Not hurried or frantic, but slow, cautious. For a long time, she stands beneath the flow, letting the warmth ease the cold stiffness from her limbs. Dirt and dried blood run off her skin in thin streams, swirling into the drain like the ghosts of her cage. When she finally steps out, her long silver hair damp against her shoulders, she wears a simple robe left for her on a hook. Her body is clean, her eyes sharp, but her thoughts are tangled. She walks out, bracing herself. She's heard the whispers, the jeers, the warnings. She knows what happens to women like her, bought from cages with chains still fresh on their skin. No matter the price or the buyer's face, the story always ends the same. Used, broken, discarded. Her heart beats a little harder in her chest, though her expression stays neutral. But what she sees surprises her. Alex is seated by the window. The moment she steps in, he glances over, but only briefly. His eyes drift from her to the dimming skyline, then back to the half-finished cup of water in his hand. You're done, Alex says simply. Good. Carnessa stands near the doorway, uncertain. The robe clings lightly to her frame, her damp hair dripping onto the stone floor. She doesn't move closer, doesn't speak right away, just waits. There's a long silence between them. Then, quietly, she asks, "What do you want me to do now, Master?" Alex doesn't answer right away. He finishes his drink, sets the cup down with a soft clink, and finally stands. His tone is as calm as ever, but there's a firmness in it. Sleep. Carnessa blinks. Sleep. Alex nods once. That bed is yours for the night. I'll take the chair. She stares at him, frozen. You're not going to?
No.
He walks past her, drags the old wooden chair near the window, and sits down, resting one elbow on the sill as if he's done this routine 100 times before. You need rest more than anything. You've been locked up for how long? She doesn't answer. She doesn't know how to answer. Alex doesn't press. He leans back, eyes half-lidded, voice steady. I won't touch you. I didn't buy you for that. Carnessa stands there a moment longer, still as stone, her fingers curling slightly at her sides. I was told that's all I'd be good for, she says, voice barely above a whisper. I don't care what you were told, Alex says without looking at her. You're not a toy. The words hit harder than she expects. Just sits there, as steady as stone, watching the last sliver of orange sink behind the rooftops. Carnessa lies down, unsure what she's feeling. For the first time in years, maybe ever, no one wants anything from her. Just sleep. She pulls the blanket up over her shoulders and stares at the ceiling, heart pounding in quiet confusion. Carnessa, she whispers to herself again, like an anchor, like a promise. And with that name on her lips, she closes her eyes. The next morning, sunlight filters through the trees in golden shards, dappling the forest floor with light and shadow. Birds call faintly in the distance. The air is fresh, filled with the scent of damp earth and pine. Carnessa steps over a patch of moss, eyes shifting constantly, her body tense. She walks a few paces behind Alex, each step cautious. He doesn't say anything yet, just leads her deeper into the woods until they reach a small clearing surrounded by stone and trees. Quiet, secluded. Carnessa stops at the edge, gaze darting. Her voice is tight, wary. "Master!" Alex finally turns to look at her, arms crossed loosely over his chest. "This is good enough. We're far from people," he says. Carnessa swallows, her thoughts spiraling. Is this a test? A setup? What if he wants to see me lose control? What if he enjoys watching it happen? What if he just lets the beasts finish the job? Carnessa's shoulders tense as her eyes flick around the clearing, half expecting a hidden predator to leap out. Her fingers twitch at her sides. She opens her mouth but says nothing. No point. He has the seal. If he wanted her dead, he could end her with a single thought. Alex studies her for a quiet moment, then gestures to a flat patch of ground near the center. "Stand there." She hesitates. Chapter 215. Control your innate ability. Carnessa walks forward slowly, barefoot against the cool grass. Her breath hitches with every step. She stands in the center, eyes darting toward the trees, waiting for something, anything. Alex's voice cuts through the morning quiet like a blade. "Survive." And then he vanishes. Carnessa blinks. Her mouth opens slightly. "Wah?" Snap. A branch cracks from the right. Her soul nearly leaves her body. Something heavy thuds onto the forest floor behind the treeline. A low growl follows. Her blood runs cold. From the shadows, a beast steps forward. Thick fur matted with dirt and dried blood. Claws like hooked daggers. Yellow eyes locked on her. A Tier 3 predator. Its maw drips with anticipation. Carnessa takes a trembling step back. Her voice comes out hoarse. "Master?" No answer. She looks around, heart pounding, but Alex is gone. Not a trace of him anywhere. The beast growls again and begins circling. Her pulse quickens, vision narrowing. The pressure in her chest rises, threatening to explode. She wants to scream, wants to run, but she knows there's no escape. If she dies here, she dies. The sigil on her chest thrums, faintly reacting. "He left me. He really left me." Her fingers shake. Is this it? Is this what he wanted? Then, somewhere, unseen, Alex's voice murmurs softly to himself. "The fastest way to control your innate ability is to put you at death's door." He crouches unseen behind a rock at the edge of the clearing, eyes locked on her. Watching, waiting. The beast snarls louder now, pacing. Carnessa's breath turns ragged. Panic churns in her gut. Her legs lock. Do something. Her body refuses to move, but her instincts scream louder with every heartbeat. Do something. The beast lunges. Carnessa throws herself to the side, rolling across the grass with a gasp as claws rake the space where she stood. The creature snarls, snapping at her heels as she scrambles upright, heart hammering in her chest. "I don't want to die," she chokes out. But there's no one to hear it, no one to save her, no one except herself. The beast comes again, faster this time. She ducks just in time, feeling the wind of its swipe graze her cheek. Something cracks inside her, fear turning into raw desperation. Her body moves before she can think, lashing out with an open palm. She doesn't even touch the beast. But blood, its blood, spurts from a thin line across its side, as if carved by an invisible blade. The beast reels back with a pained roar. Carnessa freezes. Her hand is shaking, but glowing faintly red, warm, alive. Her veins burn. She looks down at her skin. Lines of energy shimmer beneath it like threads of molten crimson, pulsing in rhythm with her breath. "I did that," she whispers, stunned. The beast snarls again and charges, but something changes in her eyes this time. No longer wide with helplessness, now focused. Carnessa slides back, and the air ripples around her. Her presence sharpens. The beast stops mid-pounce, snarling as if suddenly uncertain. Blood drips from its earlier wound, and she feels it. She feels it like it's part of her. I never fought before, she whispers to herself, standing straighter. But I've always had this strength. Her voice trembles, not with fear, but awakening. I was born with it. She now remembers the way her tribes used to glance at her with unease, even as a child. How birds fell from the sky when she cried. How water turned pink when she got scared. Her mother never explained it. Her father never talked about it. She lived like a normal civilian, quiet, careful, avoiding attention, until the humans came, until her tribe burned, until she was caged. But now the cage is open. Carnessa raises her hand again. Blood surges from the wound on the beast's side, spiraling unnaturally, responding to her silent command. The creature roars in confusion, its own lifeblood turning against it. Control it. Alex's voice echoes in her memory. Carnessa's hand tightens. The blood wraps like a chain around the beast's throat. Panting, trembling, Carnessa finally drops her hand. The blood falls. The beast collapses, dead. She stands there, shaking, hair wild, eyes burning. Alex steps out from behind the trees, his boots quiet on the grass. His hands are in his pockets, his expression unreadable as he approaches the center of the clearing. "Congratulations," he says calmly. "You can now control your innate ability." Carnessa turns sharply toward him, breathing hard. Her eyes widen, not just in shock, but something deeper. Relieved, shaken. You didn't leave," she says, voice barely above a whisper. Alex stops a few steps away, watching her. "I was close by," he says. "Always was." Carnessa lowers her gaze. I thought you abandoned me." Alex tilts his head slightly. "Are you mad?" She's quiet for a long moment. Then she says softly, "A slave can't be mad at their master." He exhales faintly through his nose and glances down at the beast's corpse. "You've got power, Carnessa. You were born with it. But raw strength doesn't mean much without control. So now..." He gestures toward the edge of the clearing, where another beast, a smaller, leaner one, is being slowly herded into view by a pressure trap Alex had set earlier. Again, Carnessa stands quietly, eyes still fixed on the fallen beast as its blood soaks into the forest floor. Her fingers twitch. The red glow in her veins is fading, but it hasn't disappeared. Not completely. It lingers, waiting. Alex walks toward the edge of the clearing, where he takes a seat on a moss-covered stone. He crosses one leg over the other, resting an elbow on his knee. His eyes remain on her, calm, watchful, unblinking. "This time," he says, "don't rely on your enemy's blood." Carnessa blinks, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Alex says, "use your own." She stares at him. "My own." "You can't always wait for the enemy to bleed first," he explains. "Control means freedom. That includes creating your own weapon when nothing else is available." Her gaze flickers toward the dagger on her hip, the one he gave her earlier for survival, not offense. She hesitates, then draws it slowly. The edge gleams dull silver in the morning light. Alex nods once. A shallow wound, just enough to draw blood. The more you practice with it directly, the more control you'll gain. Carnessa holds the blade for a moment, breathing deeply. Then, without another word, she raises her left hand and makes a clean, swift slice across the palm. The pain is sharp but manageable. Her breath catches, and blood wells up from the cut. Slow at first, then faster. "Good," Alex says quietly from the side. "Now focus." She holds her hand steady, palm facing upward. The blood drips down but doesn't reach the ground. It halts in midair, trembling. Carnessa furrows her brow, concentrating. Her breath slows, her fingers shift. The blood floats, twisting, forming a single, thin strand. Then it sharpens, tightens. A needle. Thin, glimmering red. suspended like glass under sunlight. Carnessa's eyes widen in awe. I did that. Alex's voice comes low and steady. Not bad for a first try. Now shape another. Control the density. Don't just move the blood. Command it. She grits her teeth and focuses. Another drop rises, merging with the first. The needle thickens slightly, its edges becoming clearer, deadlier. She extends her fingers. The needle zips forward, slicing through a leaf 10 paces away. Carnessa gasps. Alex gives the faintest nod, the corner of his mouth twitching in approval. Again, he says. Smaller this time. Try 3. Carnessa breathes deeply, the sting in her palm grounding her as she raises her hand once more. The blood obeys. From pain, a weapon. From fear, control. And for the first time in her life, Carnessa doesn't feel like she's breaking apart. She feels like she's becoming something whole. The air is still again. The forest around them watches silently, as if nature itself holds its breath. Carnessa's knees tremble. Her chest rises and falls in sharp bursts. Her palm is slick with blood, but the 3 crimson needles floating before her are sharp, stable, precise. She flicks her fingers forward. The needles shoot through the air and pierce the approaching beast in its joints. One to the shoulder, one to the leg, one just beneath the eye. The creature shrieks, staggering, then collapses mid-charge with a heavy thud. Silence follows. Carnessa lowers her hand slowly and drops to her knees. Alex is on his feet before the dust settles. He crosses the clearing in a few strides and kneels beside her, catching her before she falls forward completely. Her breathing is ragged, her skin pale. No mana left, she mumbles. Her voice is dazed, eyes glassy. I used too much. I know, Alex says, supporting her gently. Don't move. He props her up against a tree, then checks her pulse and pupils with practiced precision. Everything's stable, just drained. He exhales slowly, then looks at the beast's body, pierced through with nothing but sharpened blood. His thoughts turn inward. What a good innate ability. She doesn't need skills, doesn't need weapons, not even equipment, just blood, focus, and mana. In all his forces, only 10 have this kind of innate ability, especially his 5 marshals, each one molded into legends. But Carnessa is different. Raw, untouched, still blooming. Alex leans back, eyes narrowing. Still, if she had a skill to pair with it, something made for blood control. He frowns slightly. Those kinds of skill books are rare. He's not even sure how many he has. He glances down at Carnessa again. She's trying to sit up, sweat clinging to her brow. Chapter 216, Going to the Bregan Empire. Alex pulls a small vial from his coat, a deep violet liquid swirling inside like smoke caught in water. He unstoppers it and presses it gently to her lips. Drink, he orders. Carnessa obeys without question. The potion is bitter, sharp, like metal and herbs mixed with fire. But within seconds, warmth spreads through her limbs. The shaking slows. The chill fades. She breathes more evenly. Her voice comes weakly. That was a mana potion? Alex nods once. A high-grade one. You needed it. Carnessa watches him, silent for a moment. Then she speaks, her voice low, almost hesitant. Master, why? Alex looks at her. Why are you helping me? She asks. I'm a monster. My whole life I was treated like something to be shackled or sold. This is the first time I've ever seen a human treat a slave monster like this. Alex doesn't answer immediately. Then, slowly his hand rises and brushes across the side of his face. The illusion fades. The shift is subtle at first, then startling. The human skin disappears like dust swept away by wind, revealing a form beneath that pulses with quiet power. Silken dark horns, his skin carrying a faint shimmer like moonlight on obsidian, and his eyes, glowing, sharp, and impossibly ancient. Not human. Carnessa stares. Her breath catches. The first thing that blooms in her stunned mind isn't fear. It's awe. He's beautiful. Not in a delicate way, but in the way storms are beautiful. power wrapped in grace, worn like armor. For a heartbeat, she forgets what she was even asking. Alex meets her gaze, calm and unflinching. "I'm not a human," he says simply. Carnessa's lips part, but no words come. Her heart thunders in her chest. "You were expecting cruelty," Alex continues, "because that's all the world gave you. Shackles, cages, whips, chains." She nods slowly. Alex tilts his head. "Then remember this, Carnessa. If monsters are born in cages, I was born in fire. And I don't burn for humans." She swallows hard. "Then, what do you burn for?" Alex's gaze lingers on the forest, the last of the dying light catching the edges of his horns. His voice, when it comes, is quiet, almost too soft for a warlord, too honest for a master. "I burn for all the monsters that have suffered in this world," he says. "For those who were hunted, branded, discarded just for existing. I burn for them." Carnessa stares at him, lips parted, throat tightening. Alex's eyes shift to her again, calm, unwavering. "And for those who still suffer, I will become something the world can't ignore." Carnessa bows her head, shoulders trembling, not out of fear or pain, but from something deeper, something she's never had before. Someone who understood. Someone who saw her not as a beast, not as a tool, but as one of his own. "Thank you," she says, barely a whisper. Alex stands and offers his hand.
Come.
"That's enough for today." Carnessa looks at his hand, hesitates for only a moment, then takes it. He pulls her up with ease, steadying her as she stumbles slightly on weak legs. As they walk back through the forest trail, Alex lifts a hand and waves it across his face. A ripple of light shimmers over his skin. His horns vanish, the shimmer fades, and the calm, cold mask of his human illusion returns. No trace of what he truly is. Carnessa watches the transformation from the corner of her eye, lips pressed into a thin line. The shift is still strange to witness, how easily he wears the skin of the enemy. But she doesn't question it. They reach the outer gates of the city just as the sky begins to dim with the onset of dusk. And immediately, they feel it, tension, thick and choking, woven into every corner of the street. The guards at the checkpoint aren't their usual bored, half-sleeping selves. They're alert, faces pale. One of them nearly drops his spear when a horse snorts behind him. Inside the walls, it's worse. People rush past them with sacks and crates, children clinging to mothers, carts stuffed with blankets and food. A pair of merchants argue loudly over the price of passage. A noblewoman slaps a stable hand for delaying her escape. Soldiers bark orders, some to civilians, others to each other. But even they look unsettled, their armor rattling too loudly with every step. Carnessa leans closer to Alex. "What's happening?" Alex doesn't answer yet. His gaze scans the crowd, then locks onto a pair of commoners standing near a water well, speaking in hushed, hurried tones. He walks past them slowly, letting their voices carry to his ears. "It's true," one man says, clutching a sack to his chest. "The monsters from outside continent breached Elmorin's border this morning. The capital didn't even last a full week." "No way," his friend replies. "Elmorin has 3 Tier 6 combatants. They said the monsters didn't care, just tore through everything. They're heading here next." Someone nearby slams a window shut. A woman runs by with tears in her eyes, dragging 2 children. Another voice, a man, younger, bursts out loudly in frustration. "What the hell is everyone doing? Why are the monsters advancing so fast?" His companion answers with bitterness, shaking his head. "Because we're nothing to them. All those powerful kingdoms, the hidden forces, the empire, they're just watching, letting the smaller ones get chewed up. They're probably hoping we wear the monsters down first." Another man growls, spitting into the dirt. "Then they'll sweep in, take what's left." Alex listens quietly as the crowd's unease unfolds around him like a tide of whispers and fear. His hands remain in his pockets, expression calm, but his eyes sharpen. Carnessa watches too, her brows furrowed. She leans closer and murmurs, Is it really that bad? Alex doesn't answer right away. He lets the moment breathe, lets the chaos speak for itself. Then, gently, he says, We should leave this city. Carnessa blinks. What? Now? He nods once, gaze still forward. It's already started. The fear, the blame. Soon there'll be riots. And after that, blood. But where? The teleportation gate, Alex says. We'll use it before the price triples. Carnessa nods, swallowing her questions. They walk quickly, weaving through the frantic crowd, past shouting vendors and families huddled in alleyways. Soldiers barely notice them, too distracted by their own fear to care about a cloaked man and a quiet girl. As they near the teleportation plaza, a man in front of them slams his fist into a wall. This is madness, he snarls. They're just going to leave us to die. No one's coming, another mutters. The nobles have already left the kingdom. A woman nearby sobs into her hands. We should have left last week. The teleportation plaza is up ahead. A wide, circular space lined with marble pillars. A huge rune circle glows faintly in the center, guarded by mages in ceremonial robes. But even here there's shouting. A long line of desperate nobles and merchants stretches out from the gates, all waving gold and demanding priority. A robed mage raises his voice, face drawn with stress. 1,000 gold coins per person, double for immediate transport.
No exceptions.
The crowd roars in protest, but no one leaves the line. Alex reaches into his coat and pulls out a pouch. The soft clink of heavy coins inside is lost in the noise. He leans toward Carnessa. Don't speak. Let me handle it. Alex steps forward, the noise around him a muffled blur. He makes his way past the long line without hesitation, moving with the quiet confidence of someone who expects the world to part for him. Carnessa follows closely, head down, heart thudding. A guard moves to block them. Hey, no cutting. Get in line like Evrio. Alex opens the pouch. The gleam of gold hits the torchlight. Stacked platinum-rimmed coins, heavy and unmistakable. 4,000, Alex says flatly. Immediate transfer for 2. The guard blinks, then glances at the mage. The robed man at the circle looks over, exhaustion in his eyes, until he sees the payment. He straightens at once. Step into the circle, he says quickly, motioning them forward. We'll send you through now. The crowd erupts behind them. What? 4,000? That's robbery. Why the hell do they get to go first? Alex ignores them all. He takes Carnessa's hand and pulls her gently into the glowing array. The rune beneath their feet flares brighter, humming with ancient energy. Carnessa squeezes her eyes shut just as the light swallows them. And then, the scent of lilacs, cool air, open space. They arrive with a soft pop, their feet touching smooth white stone. Carnessa stumbles slightly from the shift, but Alex steadies her. She opens her eyes. Before them rises a new city. Tall silver towers glinting in the fading light, roads paved clean and orderly, banners fluttering in the wind bearing the mark of the Sunhawk, the royal sigil of the Kingdom of Arath. Alex's eyes scan the city with a measured calm. He takes in the wide boulevards, the elegant bridges, the noble crests carved into the buildings. Then he says quietly, Do you know what kingdom this is? Carnessa looks around, her gaze trailing over the banners and marble towers. It's the capital city of the Kingdom of Arath, Master, she answers. Alex hums. Arath. All right. They begin walking down the stone steps leading away from the teleportation plaza. The square behind them buzzes with new arrivals. Nobles, merchants, refugees. Guards stand tense, trying to keep order. Alex speaks again, his voice casual. How many portals do you think we need to go through before we reach the Breegian Empire? Carnessa blinks at him. I don't have a clue, Master. I've only heard stories about Breegian Empire. Chapter 217. Event in Dalblas City. Alex nods, unbothered. That's fine. We'll ask someone who knows. He leads her through the outer courtyard of the teleportation structure. Not just a spell array this time, but a towering, enclosed building made of pale gray stone and glass, with spires humming faintly with arcane power. The portal nexus of a capital city. Permanent, reinforced, capable of long-distance jumps. They step inside. The air is colder, charged. Mages in layered robes move with purpose between glowing crystal terminals, scroll racks, and large standing gates wreathed in silver. Alex walks up to a counter, where a mage operator is speaking to a soldier in hushed tones. The mage is middle-aged, sharp-featured, his expression tired but alert. As the soldier walks away, Alex steps up. "I need to reach the Breegian Empire," he says calmly. The mage pauses, then blinks. "Breegian." He leans in slightly. "That's not a short hop. No basic portal can cover that kind of distance."
I'm aware, Alex replies.
"Is there a way?" The mage exhales slowly, eyeing Alex. "There is, but it'll cost you. For that range, we'd need to route you through a high-grade anchor gate. Reinforced structure, multi-tier energy draw, stabilized flux seals. You understand what I'm saying?" "I do," Alex says. "How much?" The mage taps a crystal embedded in the counter. A number flickers into the air, 100,000 in bold gold script. 100,000 gold coins. Per head. Carnessa's mouth falls open. "What? That's really expensive." The mage's expression hardens. He turns toward her sharply, eyes narrowing with disdain. "Shut up, slave. You're not the one paying. A slave shouldn't speak while her master is talking." Alex's eyes flick toward him, calm and unreadable. Then, coolly, he says, "We'll do it." The mage blinks. "I'll pay for two," Alex adds, and tosses a larger coin pouch onto the counter. The thunk of it landing silences the surrounding murmur. A faint jingle of heavy weight follows. The mage catches himself, nods stiffly, and takes the pouch without another word. "Prep Gate 6, he calls out. "Full distance lock. Route to southern node, Breegian Empire border." Another mage moves quickly to obey. The tall arch at the center of the chamber flares to life, its interior folding into a slow spiral of liquid light. Carnessa watches the portal in awe, then glances at Alex. "Master," she murmurs, voice soft and careful. "Why are you willing to spend that much?" Alex doesn't look at her. His gaze is on the portal as the energy stabilizes. "Because gold is easy to earn again," he says quietly. "Time isn't." The portal pulses. Alex takes Carnessa's wrist gently and steps forward. "Let's go." The light fades. Alex and Carnessa step out onto polished stone tiles, the teleportation arch behind them humming quietly with residual energy. The air here smells different, crisper, touched with ozone and the faint tang of alchemical oils. The plaza around them is wide, clean, and bustling, not with panic or refugees, but with calm, methodical activity. Even though this is just a border city of the Breegian Empire, it feels like another world entirely. The towers are tall and elegant, carved from deep slate and veined with glowing threads of magic. Arcane lamps float in the air, shedding soft light even though the sun still lingers. Shops are open. Guards patrol with discipline, not desperation. Merchants haggle, not scream. There's no trace of fear. Alex walks forward slowly, eyes sweeping over the people moving through the plaza. Mages, soldiers, civilians in tailored coats and silk robes, all going about their lives as if war didn't exist just a few nations away. Carnessa looks around in stunned silence. Alex tilts his head slightly. "They don't look worried." Carnessa shakes her head, still staring. "No, not at all. It's like they don't even know what's happening in the outer kingdoms." "They know," Alex says. "They just don't care." They continue walking through the paved plaza, past a statue of a winged warrior holding aloft a broken crown. Carnessa's voice lowers slightly as she asks, "Why is this place so calm?" "There's a war tearing through half the continent." Alex doesn't answer immediately. He stops near a railing that overlooks the rest of the city. A sprawling network of stone streets, clockwork trams gliding past, and spires crackling faintly with magical sigils. A military airship coasts silently across the distant sky, escorted by 4 glimmering hawk-like constructs. Alex doesn't answer right away. He watches a pair of armored knights ride by on silver-plated steeds, their banners trailing behind them like quiet thunder. Then, calmly, he says, "Because the people here are confident in the Empire's strength." Just then, a group of armored youths walks past them, each wearing different crests on their cloaks. One laughs loudly. "I heard the Glassfang clans sending their twin heirs this year. Let them." Another snorts. "The Dawnsworn Prince is still the favorite. Everyone knows it." Alex stops walking. His eyes follow them for a beat. Then he turns slightly toward Carnessa. "What are they talking about?" Carnessa perks up, frowning in thought. "Oh, I've heard of this. It's some kind of imperial event. Every 5 years, all the kingdoms and clans that serve the Empire send representatives to fight each other." "Fight each other?" Alex echoes. She nods. "Yes, Master. It's how the Empire decides how to distribute resources, territories, magic relics, even military support. The stronger your forces perform, the more favor and power your region gets." Alex raises an eyebrow. "So a tournament?" "In a way, but only elites are allowed. They say no one older than 20 can compete, so most of the time it's the princes and heirs of noble clans. Future rulers." Alex glances around, observing the people with a deeper understanding now. The tension he expected isn't here, because for them the war is distant. But this event? This matters. Carnessa adds, her voice quieter. "When I was still in the slave cages, I heard one of the merchants talking about it. Said it's how the Empire keeps everyone in check. If you want more from Breejan, you earn it with blood." Alex hums. "Of course. Control through competition. Order by making your vassals fight over scraps." He looks toward the central citadel looming beyond the plaza, its spires reaching high into the clouds. "But if this is how they do things," he mutters, "then this empire is more ruthless than I thought." Carnessa looks at him, hesitating. It feels so wrong. Alex's gaze remains on the citadel. "No," he says simply. "I think it's honest." Alex turns his gaze back toward the group of armored youths who had been speaking earlier. Without hesitation, he strides toward them, Carnessa keeping close behind, her steps light and silent. As they draw near, the group notices them. One of the young men, sharp-jawed with a hawk crest on his shoulder, narrows his eyes but doesn't speak. Alex stops a few paces away and speaks evenly. "Excuse me, that event you were talking about, where is it being held?" The group exchanges quick glances, sizing him up. A taller boy with a lazy grin steps forward. "Oh, it's your first time in the Empire?" he says, brushing dust off his polished gauntlet. "It's in Dalblas City. That's where they always hold the event." Alex nods slowly. "Dalblas City," he repeats. "Is that far?" The boy's grin falters just slightly. "Not too far. 5 jump by standard gate portal. But don't bother heading there unless you've got Empire citizenship." He folds his arms. Dalblas is one of those restricted cities. Outsiders aren't allowed in. Before Alex can respond, another youth from the group scoffs and waves a hand. "Ignore him. He likes sounding important." That person frowns. "I'm not wrong. Did you hit your head or something?" The other says, rolling his eyes. He turns to Alex. "Dalblas is usually closed off, but for the event, they open the city to outsiders for a week. Merchants, spectators, scouts. You'll see all kinds flooding in." Alex nods, considering that. "I see. Thank you." "No problem," the second boy says. "If you're going to watch, get there early. Lodging fills up fast." Carnessa keeps her head lowered, but her eyes flick between the boys with quiet curiosity. Alex gives them a polite nod, then turns and walks away. Once they're out of earshot, Carnessa leans closer and whispers, "So we're really going there, Master?" Alex doesn't answer immediately. His gaze is fixed ahead, toward the southern skyline. Then he murmurs, "Dalblas City. a gathering of the Empire's best. A faint smile touches his lips. Sounds like the perfect place to make a first impression. Alex doesn't waste another second. He turns on his heel, cloak sweeping behind him as he strides toward the towering portal structure at the heart of the city, this one even grander than the one before. Carnessa hurries to keep up, her footsteps light but breath quick. She doesn't ask where they're going. Alex heads straight to the main operator's desk. A robed woman with bronze cuffs greets him with a tilt of her head. Destination: Dalbla City, Alex says plainly. She blinks, surprised. During the selection, you'll need to wait. There are a lot of people going there. I have the coin, he says simply, already reaching into his coat. Okay, that'll be 15,000 for priority access, she says, unfazed now. Alex places the pouch on the table. The mage gives it a quick way, nods once, and motions toward a silver-framed gate near the far wall. Gate 9. Alex takes Carnessa's wrist gently. Come. The gate opens in a soft flare of blue-white light. With no hesitation, he steps through. Chapter 218. Valira, a heir of a clan. A heartbeat later, they arrive. Dalbla City unfolds before them like a painting brought to life. Stone roads set in perfect symmetry, towers of white steel and blue crystal rising in the distance, and massive banners fluttering above the plazas, each marked with a different sigil. Wings, swords, dragons, crescents. Every corner of the empire represented. The sky above is clear, but dozens of magical constructs and aerial beasts soar between the spires. Cheers echo from nearby arenas, and the streets are packed with nobles, soldiers, and commoners alike, all flowing in the same direction. Carnessa stares in awe. This city, it's like something out of a legend. Alex's gaze sweeps over the crowd. Warriors in ceremonial armor, scholars in deep discussion, scouts from border territories, and cloaked observers who say nothing but see everything. Everyone is watching, measuring, judging. As they walk deeper into the heart of Dalbla City, Alex begins to notice something curious. Lining the avenue are several grand buildings, each unique in design, yet all opulent, towering, and guarded. Massive banners hang from their facades, bearing different crests. A silver lion on blue silk, a coiled serpent of flame, twin crescents over a black sun. In front of each building is a long line of people. Young men and women, some armored, some robed, others plainly dressed, all waiting. Carnessa tilts her head. They're all lined up for something. Alex veers toward the nearest building, where a crimson banner depicting a howling wolf sways gently in the breeze. The line stretches out into the street. He taps the shoulder of a young man standing near the back. Why are people lining up? The man turns, clearly irritated. He looks Alex up and down. You serious? He scoffs. What else would they be lining up for? To be chosen. Alex's brow furrows faintly. Chosen for what? The man exhales sharply, like he's talking to a child. To join the participants' team. You really are new. Alex's silence prompts a sigh, and the man waves his hand toward the building. Look, I'll make it simple. Every representative, every noble brat sent by their kingdom or clan, has to recruit 2 outsiders. It's a rule. Part of the Empire's tradition. Carnessa blinks. They have to. The man nods. Yeah. Some say it's to prove they can lead anyone, not just their own trained dogs. Others say it's just to make things interesting. Either way, the rule's the same. 2 members of their team has to be a random hire from the public. Alex hums quietly, gaze sharpening with interest. So, these people are here hoping to get picked. That's right. The man grins now, more amused than annoyed. Most of us don't stand a chance, but if you do get picked, you're part of the selection team. And if your team wins, he whistles low. Titles, land, even Empire citizenship. Alex thanks him with a nod and steps back, looking toward the rows of buildings, each brimming with hopefuls. His eyes track a group exiting one of the buildings, young elites, powerful but also arrogant. Entitled. He smiles faintly. I wasn't planning to be part of this game, he thought. But if they're handing out a seat at the table? Alex keeps walking, Carnessa silent at his side, her eyes flicking around nervously at the towering buildings and their endless lines. She doesn't ask questions. She's learned not to when he wears that look. They pass building after building. 20 in total. 20 banners. 20 forces. Alex counts them quietly as they go. 20 representatives. That means 20 major powers under the Empire. He mutters under his breath, tone unreadable. So that's the size of the Empire's leash. Deep inside, he understands something critical. With his kingdom's strength right now, they couldn't swallow this empire whole. Not yet. Even in the worst-case estimate, 20 elite forces backed by an empire of this scale is no small matter. Not without preparation. Not without information. But this selection, this is a door. Then he sees it. One of the buildings near the far edge of the plaza. Its banner is silver, simple, unadorned. Just a narrow vertical slash over a black field. Unlike the others, there's no grand fanfare. No nobles lingering nearby. Only a short, quiet line of youths. No more than 10 of them. Most of them are Tier 3. Barely awakened. A few with decent posture, but no pressure. No edge. Carnessa blinks. That one isn't very popular. Exactly, Alex murmurs. He moves toward the building calmly. His presence doesn't even draw much attention from the others in line. Just a few glances, then they go back to waiting. Alex stops a few paces behind the last person, scanning the scene. The air is quiet here, detached from the excitement of the other houses. Carnessa leans closer. Isn't this too small? That's the point, he says simply. Then, with a quiet breath, he lets his aura shift. Not all of it, just enough. A slow, rising pulse of power spreads from his core. Measured. Controlled. Tier 4. Level 450. The effect is immediate. The nearest few youths glance over, first out of idle curiosity, then with startled recognition. One of them, a girl with short dark hair, actually takes a step back, eyes wide. Another youth frowns and subtly shifts away, his posture tightening. Even the guards near the entrance glance up. Carnessa, beside him, stiffens in surprise at the sudden pressure, but she says nothing. The guards at the door part without a word as Alex steps forward, the subtle gravity of his presence now undeniable. Carnessa follows closely, head lowered but eyes sharp, her Tier 3 aura quiet beside the weight of his. Inside, the building's interior is stark and disciplined. No lavish decor, no crowds or music, just a central chamber where 3 figures wait. 2 men, one on either side, stand straight-backed in modest but well-kept armor. Both are clearly trained, their posture practiced, but they don't carry the same prideful air that many of the other forces do. Between them stands a woman, a few inches shorter than Alex, dressed in a dark gray sleeveless coat stitched with silver thread. Her long black hair is tied back in a sharp braid, and a thin scar traces the curve of her left cheek. She watches him approach, arms loosely crossed, eyes cool and assessing. She speaks first. "Welcome," she says. Her voice is calm, smooth, but not soft. Didn't expect to see a Tier 4 walk through this door. Alex stops a few steps away, unfazed. "I go where I'm needed." The woman smile. "People at your level usually go where the banners are bigger, where the crowds cheer louder." She steps forward slightly. "We don't get many of you here, just Tier 3 hopefuls looking for a miracle. But we will gladly take you with open arms." One of the men beside her suddenly steps forward, his presence sharp and untrusting. He's broad-shouldered, with close-cropped hair and a jagged scar running across his left bicep. His aura pulses strong and steady. Peak Tier 4. His eyes narrow on Alex. "Hey, are you sure you're not one of them?" He says slowly, voice low and edged. "Sent by those bastards from the others to sabotage us again?" Carnessa tenses beside Alex, and even the other man, leaner, with silver-threaded tattoos on his forearms, gives his companion a glance of warning. Alex meets the hostile gaze without blinking. "If I were here to sabotage you," he says evenly, I wouldn't have walked through the front door. The tension stretches for a breath too long. Then Valira sighs, lifting a hand. Stop it, Gresrin. Her voice carries enough weight to silence the room. She turns to him with a raised brow. Are you really going to bark at the first tier for who's ever volunteered to join us? Gresrin holds Alex's gaze for another second, then exhales through his nose and steps back. Apologies, young lady, he mutters. Just being cautious. Too many knives in the dark lately. Valira nods curtly, then gestures between the two men. This, she says, motioning to the larger one, is Gresrin, our shield and hammer. Gresrin gives Alex a short nod, his arms crossing over his chest. Still wary, but less aggressive now. And that, she continues, turning to the more relaxed man beside her, is Salvin. He's our scout, tactician, and second sharpest blade. Salvin gives a small, lopsided smile. Only second? Valira smirks. Until you prove otherwise. Salvin shrugs, then glances at Alex. Tier 4, you'll get a lot of stares, especially if you join us. He studies him for a moment. You a swordsman? Mage? Or something stranger? Alex glances at Salvin, then answers plainly, I'm a swordsman. A brief pause. Then, calmly, he adds, but before I agree to join, there's something I need. Valira tilts her head slightly, cautious but open. What is it? Alex steps aside, just enough to gesture to Carnessa, who has remained respectfully quiet beside him. I want her to join as well. She's my slave. The room stills. Gresrin's brows pull together sharply. Your slave. His voice drops, tension flickering back into his tone. Young lady, if a monster slave joins our team, we'll become a laughingstock before the event even begins. Valira's expression hardens, though she doesn't look away from Alex. I won't lie, that would raise more than a few eyebrows. Even if she's tier 3, I've never heard of a monster slave being accepted into the selection. Not once. Not even as a footnote. Alex's voice remains calm. Are there any rules against it? Salvin leans back slightly, arms folding. Technically? No. The Empire didn't prohibit it. They just never expected it. He eyes Carnessa thoughtfully. As long as the slave has a contract, is registered, and under 20, it should be okay. Chapter 219, Ashedge Clan. Valira looks at Carnessa now, her gaze lingering on the subtle marks of the collar, the posture of obedience. And her age. She's 19, Alex says. Tier 3, level 340. Valira doesn't speak for a moment. Then she draws a slow breath and exhales. Well. She glances toward the two men. They did say we needed outsiders. And the Empire didn't prohibit having a slave monster. We'll just be the first, and see what happens. Gresrin makes a face but doesn't argue. This is going to make waves, he mutters. Salvin chuckles lightly. Waves keep things interesting. Valira finally nods. Fine. She'll be your responsibility. If she causes trouble, it reflects on you. She won't, Alex replies without hesitation. Carnessa lowers her head quietly, but her eyes burn with something fierce. Determination. Pride. Maybe gratitude. Valira steps forward and offers her hand once more. Then welcome to the Silver Shadows, she says. Both of you. Valira turns toward the doorway, her voice sharp and clear. We're done recruiting. No more interviews. The guard stationed outside nod and move to close the entrance. The faint murmur of the city beyond is cut off as the heavy doors begin to swing shut. Alex quietly observes the room again, then speaks. I've seen the name above the gate, Ashedge Clan. He looks at Valira. How strong is your clan, compared to the others? Valira's expression doesn't shift immediately, but her eyes tighten just a bit. In terms of prestige, strength, standing under the Empire, she exhales through her nose. We're the weakest. Valira crosses her arms. We've placed dead last in the selection for 3 years running. That means the Empire barely gives us anything. No decent resources, no funding, no favors. Every year, it's harder to even keep our name above the gate. Gresrin lets out a short grunt. They don't say it out loud, but we're basically here as filler. Background noise for the real contenders. Solvin adds with a shrug. Half the nobles don't even remember we exist. The other half expect us to be eliminated by the second round. Valira jaw sets. I don't plan to be a shadow forever. There's a steel behind her words now. She straightens, and the flicker of frustration in her expression gives way to resolve. This year, I'm getting us into the top 10, Valira says. I don't care how many monsters we have to face, or how many alliances stack against us. I'm done with pity, and I'm done with losing. Gresrin glances at her, then nods once, slow and firm. She means it. We all do. Alex offers a faint, unreadable smile. Good. Valira gives Alex a look of approval, then turns slightly to address both him and Carnessa. You'll stay here with us for now, she says. The competition starts tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Better to be settled in and ready than scrambling at the last hour. Alex nods. Understood. She gestures toward one of the side halls. We've already cleared a few rooms on the second floor. Nothing extravagant, but they'll serve. You can rest, eat, prepare. Whatever you need. Carnessa gives a slight bow, her tone respectful. Thank you. As they begin to walk, Alex pauses for just a moment. His senses have been quietly active since the moment he entered the building, and now, with the background noise gone, he narrows his focus. There it is. Two presences. Distant but not far, one above, the other perhaps just behind a reinforced wall. Both are restrained, controlled, but unmistakably powerful. Peak Tier 5. Silent. Watching. Valira might call herself the weakest, but she's still a noble. Still an heir. And heirs don't walk into imperial competition unguarded. The morning sun casts long shadows through the high windows of the Ashedge clan's building. The air is tense, but focused. Footsteps echo down the halls, armor clicks and cloth rustles as each member prepares. Quietly, deliberately. Alex stands near one of the side balconies, dressed in simple dark leathers, his sword belted to his side. Carnessa stands behind him, a step to the right. Her hair is tied back, her posture disciplined. She's armored lightly, nothing flashy, but enough to show she's ready to fight. Downstairs, Gresrin tightens the straps on his gauntlets, while Solvin checks a scroll tucked into his sleeve. Valira enters from the main chamber, already in her formal battle coat, a silver insignia pinned near her shoulder. She glances around, satisfied. Everyone's ready, she says. A moment later, the front doors open with a resonant clang. A figure in red-plated armor steps in, tall, sharp-eyed, and flanked by two junior guards bearing the Empire's crest on their cloaks. His armor gleams, polished to imperial standards, and a gold sash crosses his chest. He stops just a few steps inside and announces clearly, I've come to escort the Ashedge clan to the selection grounds. Valira steps forward, nodding formally. We're ready. The royal guard surveys them quickly, lingering only briefly on Alex before his gaze moves on to Carnessa, brows faintly twitching at the sight of the collar. He says nothing. Alex notices, but remains silent. Good, the guard says at last. The others are already en route or assembling at the main plaza. We'll move in formation. Don't wander. Don't cause delays. Valira nods curtly. Understood. The group begins to move. Gresrin falls to the rear with two other clan hopefuls. Solvin takes the side. Valira leads the front, and Alex walks just behind her, Carnessa at his right. As they step outside, the crisp morning light hits them fully. A faint breeze lifts the edge of Carnessa's cloak. The street is cleared, the path secured, lined with a scattering of onlookers, lesser nobles, servants, and hopefuls from smaller factions. Whispers ripple through the crowd at the sight of the Ashedge clan. Some are surprised, others amused. A few just shake their heads. Hey! Someone in the crowd mutters, not bothering to lower their voice. Why am I seeing a monster slave walking with the Ashedge clan? Another scoffs from just beside him. There's no way they actually let that thing enter the selection. That has to be some kind of joke. A third voice joins in with a weary sigh. They're gonna be last again. Might as well not even show up. Same sad clan, new embarrassment. Laughter ripples through a few of the spectators, quiet but cruel. Valira hears it, but doesn't break stride. Her shoulders remain squared, her eyes fixed forward. Solvin murmurs without turning his head. You hear that? We haven't even crossed the gate and we're already the underdogs in everyone's mouths. Gressrin grunts from the back. Let them talk. They'll choke on those words soon enough. Alex speaks low, just for her. Ignore them. Their noise won't matter once we step into the arena. Valira glances back for a moment, meeting Alex's eyes with a faint smirk. Let them laugh. The more they look down on us, the easier it'll be to make them look up. The road widens as they near the outer gates of the Imperial Stadium, an enormous, fortress-like structure built into the slope of the mountain wall. The path leading in is lined with black stone and engraved sigils that pulse faintly with protective magic. Towering gates swing open ahead of them as they approach, escorted by their royal guard. And then they step inside. A wave of noise slams into them. The Colosseum is vast, circular, tiered, and impossibly high. Layer upon layer of audience seats stretch upward in every direction, filled to the brim. Flags bearing each of the 20 great clan emblems flutter from the upper arches. Imperial horns blare overhead, accompanied by magical echoes that ripple through the air. Over 100,000 spectators are watching. Alex doesn't flinch, but Carnessa stiffens beside him, her breath catching at the sheer scale. She instinctively edges closer to his side. This place, she whispers under her breath, eyes wide. It's like a kingdom in itself. Welcome to the heart of the Empire. Solvin mutters dryly, glancing around. All this fanfare just to watch us suffer. Valira slows slightly as they reach the staging ground. A wide, open platform behind the main arena, where the 19 other forces are already gathered in loose formations. She turns to face her group. Eyes forward, heads high, she says. We may be the smallest, but we walk like we belong here. Gressrin huffs. Even if we're surrounded by vultures. As they step into position, a murmur begins to spread through the surrounding participants. One of the younger warriors from another clan snorts aloud. Is that the Ash Edge clan? I thought they'd disbanded already. Another, leaning on a spear, squints toward Carnessa. Wait, is that a slave? Yeah. Someone answers nearby, amused. A monster slave, no less. What are they trying to prove? That they're desperate. More like delusional. A girl in silver robes says, laughing. Might as well lie down now and save everyone the time. Carnessa keeps her eyes down, jaw tight. Alex steps a little closer, shielding her slightly with his body. His expression doesn't shift, but the look in his eyes is sharp now, cold. Valira hears every word, but she doesn't turn. Instead, she raises her voice just enough. They'll remember our names after this, she says. Alex's gaze lingers on the jeering competitors, then shifts to Valira. He steps forward until he's walking beside her, his tone light but laced with quiet amusement. So, he says casually, can you tell me why you're so confident, leader? Valira arches a brow but keeps her eyes ahead as they continue walking across the platform. Chapter 220, Emperor Varnin. Alex continues with a faint smirk. From what I can see, we're not the worst here, but not exactly top 15 either. A few of these groups could wipe us with a warm-up swing. Valira hums. You're not wrong. So what is it? He presses, watching the crowd ripple with excitement as another team enters the lineup. You've got something planned. You're not acting like someone coming here just to survive. I can't tell you, she says, her voice quiet but certain. Not yet, but just know this. My clan is going all in this time. Every weapon, every piece we've hidden away since my clan's fall. This is it for us. Alex studies her a moment, then simply nods. He thought, all right, let's see. They come to a stop as the formation settles into rows, 20 clans wide, facing the massive golden gate that will lead them into the arena proper. Around them, the energy is electric, cheering, flags waving, even magical illusions of favored champions projected into the air for the audience. The roar of the crowd spikes suddenly as a new group arrives at the edge of the staging ground. A tall, silver-haired young man steps into view, surrounded by armored elites in navy and gold. His cloak is long and flawless, embroidered with the sun emblem of the Two Kingdom. The women in the crowd scream, "Is that?" Carnessa blinks, staring. "Yeah," Salvin mutters. "That's him. The Crown Prince of Two," Gresrin adds with a low grunt. "The Empire's golden pet," Salvin mutters dryly. He shows up and half the crowd forgets anyone else exists. The prince waves once, casually, and the entire west side of the Colosseum erupts with cheers. His team moves with practiced ease. Polished armor, controlled smiles, perfect formation. Every gesture screams discipline, training, and arrogance. "They've placed in the top 3 every selection," Gresrin adds. "Last year they won. And now," Salvin says, tilting his head at the stadium, "they treat him like he already won." The prince glances across the platform, and for a flicker of a moment, his gaze passes over the Ashedge clan. His smile doesn't falter, but his eyes linger a half-second longer on Carnessa. Carnessa meets his gaze for a breath, then looks away. The moment hangs for just a second too long. Then the stadium's atmosphere shifts. A blare of magic-enhanced horns silences the crowd in a single sweeping note. A hush spreads through the seats like a ripple across water. A voice rings out from above, clear and amplified by the runes embedded throughout the Colosseum. "All rise. His Imperial Majesty, Sovereign of the Bregan Empire, Lord of the Eternal Flame, Emperor Varnan Eltharion, arrives." The golden gate at the apex of the stadium wall opens slowly, flanked by banners bearing the imperial sigil. A phoenix rising through a sunburst of flame. The Emperor's procession steps forward. Elite guards clad in white enameled plate, gold trim flashing in the light. Behind them, atop a high platform that glides forward on silent magic, stands a tall, imposing figure, Emperor Varnan. His robes are regal yet stark, deep crimson threaded with black and gold. His presence is commanding, every movement deliberate. His face calm but unreadable beneath a circlet of silver flame metal. His gaze sweeps across the Colosseum. The lyra straightens. Every clan stands tall. Even the Two Prince inclines his head in formal respect. The floating platform stills in the center of the stadium. Then the Emperor raises one hand. Silence. His voice fills the Colosseum, not with force, but with clarity. It is steady, powerful, and utterly controlled. 78 generations. He pauses. His voice echoes softly in the charged stillness. That is how long the imperial selection has endured. 78 trials of blood and steel. 78 years of ambition, pride, and sacrifice. He surveys the 20 gathered factions. Each of you stands here not just as warriors, but as symbols of your kingdoms, your clans, your people. Behind every blade drawn, there is a history, a hope, 1,000 voices waiting to be heard through your victory or your fall. There's no theatrics to his tone, no passionless recital. He speaks like a man who believes every word he says. His gaze passes across the rows again, lingering for a beat on the Two Prince, then drifting to the lesser-known clans, including Ashedge. Let the proud prove themselves. Let the forgotten rise. In this arena, there are no heirs.
No excuses.
Only strength. A brief pause, then his voice sharpens just slightly. And to those who believe their position untouchable, remember, the Empire watches not only the victor, but those who dare to challenge them. The crowd stirs, the tension tightening. Give us a selection worth remembering, Emperor Varnan says, his voice dropping lower. Or leave this arena forgotten. He lowers his hand. The horns sound again, lower, longer. The moment the Emperor lowers his hand, The floating platform begins to glide backward. Smooth, silent, and final. As the platform vanishes behind the high gate, the Colosseum exhales all at once. The crowd erupts into cheers again, the echo of the speech still lingering like a weight on every shoulder. Gresrin cracks his neck with a loud pop and exhales hard. "Damn!" he mutters, eyes fixed forward. "That speech just gave me strength, like I could punch a wyvern in the teeth." A snort of laughter comes from the group standing next to them. 5 warriors draped in gray-blue armor, their clan emblem shaped like a wolf's fang. One of them, a tall, wiry man with half-shaved hair and a lazy grin, leans over just enough to be heard. "That so?" he drawls. "Too bad speeches don't change your ranking. You're still gonna be last, especially now that you brought a monster slave." A few of his teammates chuckle. Another adds mockingly, "Maybe if you beg hard enough, she'll carry your whole team." Gresrin bristles, fists already clenching. "Say that again." But before he can step forward, a hand lightly touches his shoulder. Alex's voice cuts through, cool and steady. "Don't waste your energy," he says. The Wolf Fang group just grins wider, feeding on the tension. One of them smirks. "Listen to your new recruit. He knows you'll need every scrap of strength just to crawl out alive." Carnessa narrows her eyes, but stays silent. Salvin lets out a slow exhale, clearly resisting the urge to escalate. Amid the low, charged murmurs of the arena, Alex shifts slightly, his tone casual as he looks up at the upper ring of the Colosseum where the Emperor once stood. "The Emperor's quite young," he remarks thoughtfully. Carnessa glances at him, her expression surprised. "Yeah, I've only heard of him in stories." Valira nods once, speaking calmly. "He's only around 100, barely middle-aged by Tier 6 standards." She pauses. "But he's already peak Tier 6, and more importantly, undisputed. No other power within the Empire dares challenge his rule." Carnessa whispers, more to herself, 100, from what I can remember. A Tier 6 can live up to 200 years. Suddenly, the announcer's voice booms through the air once more. "Now, participants, listen carefully." Instantly, the entire formation snaps back to attention. The announcer's voice rings with clarity, laced with excitement and command. "The first stage of the competition begins now." A murmur spreads through the crowd. The 20 formations stand still, listening. "This round will test your ability to survive, hunt, and strategize under pressure. You will all be teleported into a single, massive arena zone. A wild region where beasts roam free and danger hides in every shadow." Pause just enough to build tension. But beasts are not your only concern. Carnessa straightens, her eyes narrowing. Around her, others do the same. "We have released several monsters into the zone. They will hunt you. They will not care for your name, your status, or your title. They exist for one purpose only, to eliminate the unworthy." A low ripple of unease spreads through some of the newer groups. The veterans only steel themselves further. "Every beast or monster you defeat will earn you points. The stronger the enemy, the more points you gain. Some creatures are worth 1 point. Others," the announcer chuckles, "could win or lose you the round entirely." Gresrin mutters under his breath. "So we're going in blind and bleeding. And yes," the announcer continues, "you can attack other groups, steal their kills, steal their points. Nothing is off limits except killing. Should any participant come within lethal range, they will be forcefully ejected and disqualified." Salvin mutters dryly, "Good news. We just need to be strong without dying." The announcer continues, "The competition will last for a day. Your points will be tracked in real time. At the end of the timer, only the top 10 teams will advance to the next round. The rest," a long pause, "will go home." A shimmering circle of light appears beneath each team's feet, sigils pulsing with teleportation magic. The arena starts to quiet, tension crackling like static. The announcer speaks one last time. "Let the first stage begin." And in a blink, the light consumes them,